I love when you wait this long because there's like 6 or 8 people it totally messes with.
I didn't even realize it wasn't on purpose.
Ten seconds.
Morning, Felipe.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Hope you had a great weekend. Hey, July is getting near the finish line. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. We took a 3-day weekend. We won't do that for a while. Hell, I think we're Labor Day and Thanksgiving, and that's about it between now and Christmas. Mark, top of the morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, David. I'm doing well. Loved the 3-day weekend. You are right. We have Labor Day and Thanksgiving, and that might be it. I think Christmas is on a Monday, so you're right. We might get 3 of these the rest of the way.
Right, and then we'll start 2024 off with a day off on a Monday, and then right back at it. But did you do anything, or were you an Open Championship slog?
I didn't do a lot. I had a little couple things Saturday morning with the daughter, and I watched the Open. But boy, oh boy, it was anticlimactic. I mean, Harman was terrific. It looked as if he might there was a moment when he made a bogey and Rahm made a birdie, and I think they were down to 3, and you went, hey, we have a tournament here.
Right.
And Harman said, no, we don't.
Yeah, birdie, and no, you can put this sucker to bed unless I have a Van de Velde coming down the stretch. This baby's over. And not the most exciting for the fans, but I'll tell you what, would have been an amazing tournament without Brian Harman. Ha! You had like 8 golfers within a stroke of one another, if not for the lefty from Georgia. So hats off to him. And Ron Sirak will join us in about an hour and a half, and we'll wrap up the golf season because it's over. Kind of, for the most part. I mean, they got to do this Ryder Cup thing in a couple months, and they got to determine who's on it. And got to admit, Zach Johnson's got a couple of interesting decisions because he's got a couple of guys whose name and resume are a hell of a lot better than their games right now. A hell of a lot better. I mean, I know on paper, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau look like good bets. Right now on the golf course, not so much. So it'll be interesting to see what the U.S. Ryder Cup captain does. We'll talk to Ron about that as well. But did you have as much problems with the coverage of the Open Championship as seemingly a lot of golf fans did?
No,
Okay.
I didn't, because it wasn't much of a tournament to watch. So there wasn't much for me to get upset about from a coverage standpoint because one guy ran away with the tournament. I don't know what it is they wanted their coverage to be like.
They wanted more golf. They are furious with NBC at how many commercials. You know how I criticize NBC for their racing coverage where they can't go more than 10 laps without going to a commercial, and that I much prefer Fox's racing coverage to NBC's. Well, that is seemingly what not just Twitter, because, I try not to form an opinion based on Twitter, but also those in the golfing media world and not just the blogging and the podcast world, are like, man, it's just nothing but commercials here. I mean, literally, we do 4-minute commercial, came back, you showed me one Harmon shot, a bogey putt, and then we went back to commercial again. What the heck? So that was what I was wondering, if, while you were just hanging out on the couch there, whether or not you said, wow, a lot of commercials.
I know going into it that NBC seemingly has more commercials on golf than the other networks do. So I just take it as it comes. I don't let those things bother me.
Okay.
I really don't. I mean, I get that everybody has a problem with everything.
Yes. That's why I try not to form opinions off Twitter, because Twitter is a place that you go to just complain.
Will they complain as much with the new logo?
I don't know.
Twitter lost the bird.
Apparently so, although my app still is the bird. So in fact, I was making sure on my phone that I didn't overlook, Twitter this morning. I'm like, is the blue bird, white bird and the blue background still there? So I'll be curious when that changes. I'll turn to my phone and it'll be like, oh. Apparently they're going to what, an X?
An X. That's what they have up in the top left above home on the Twitter page right now. It's just an X.
X.
Yep. X marks the spot, David.
Gotcha. Okay.
I hate that because tweeting is a verb in the English dictionary these days. So what? No more tweeting? Just Xing?
Well, no, it's Twitter. It's just a different logo. I mean, that's all. Hey, this could be like new Coke. Who knows? This could last 40 days. By the way, Felipe, that's the first nomination for something you don't know anything about.
I actually do know the story about New Coke.
Yes. All right. So I spent the
It
weekend
is a 40-plus-year-old reference, isn't it? When is New Coke?
I think it was 85.
Okay, so almost a 40-year-old reference.
Right. I
Did
think
you
New Coke
try
was
New
85.
Yes, it was horrible.
It was really?
Yeah, they were worried. They were losing market share to Pepsi. Pepsi was sweeter, and so they tried to sweeten up Coke, and they didn't find the right mix. And people lost their minds. It was unbelievable. Turned out to be a tremendous marketing, good thing, because within 6 weeks, they took New Coke away, and then classic, that they you want Coca-Cola Classic. And apparently people came back in droves, and they actually gained market share off a multi-million-dollar flop. But anyway, back to the show, already in progress. So I spent the weekend with my mom in Jersey and Aunt Kathy. Went back because it was Aunt Kathy's 80th birthday. All right. She's my mom's best friend. They've been living together for 40 years. Okay. 2 divorced women who didn't have enough money to get a place on their own. So they put their resources together, basically said, I'm not going to remarry. You going to remarry? Hell no, I'm not going to remarry. And so they've been sharing a townhouse ever since. All right. My mom,
Cagney and Lacey without the cops.
Exactly. Okay. Although around the neighborhood, especially since one was president of the HOA board, that's a whole other story. But my mom does credit Aunt Kathy with saving my life. My senior year of high school, my mother and I were sick of one another. We were at each other's throats the entire year. My mother credits Aunt Kathy. She would call her up and complain about me all the time, credits her with saving my life. Otherwise, she said she would have killed me. So that's the story, and she's sticking to it. Aunt Kathy turned 80. I flew back for her birthday, sent her flowers, the whole deal. So very relaxing weekend with the two of them. Weather was great, had fun. Things would happen over the course of the weekend because, we're sitting around talking for the most part. And one of the three of us would bring something up, okay? And my mother or Aunt Kathy would go, do you think Felipe knows what we're talking about right now?
Good that you could make the trip to Jersey, Felipe. It's like a little mini vacation you didn't know you had. You were at the coffee table participating in conversations without actually having to talk. That sounds like a great time spent with family.
Weather was amazing.
So we were doing our own talk show over the course of 3.5 days, and we would bring up a topic, and then it would be like, do you think Felipe knows what we're talking about? I'd be like, no, I don't think so. No, no, not that one. No, I'm betting on no. Hey, do you know who doesn't know anything about winning right now?
The Tampa Bay Rays
Yeah.
and the Miami Marlins.
Yes.
Although
Yes.
the Marlins squeaked one out yesterday, I know. And
Thank goodness. It took a 8-game losing streak. They take a 2-1 lead to the 9th and give up a homer. Oh, my goodness. If you're a Marlins fan and you still care, you must have been dying. What do we have to do to win a game? Fortunately, they won it in extra innings. You know what, Mark, happened over the weekend in St. Pete? The Rays got outrayed. How many times have we seen the Rays when they have any kind of a pulse, when they're a good team? What do they like to do? We'll take a tie game in the 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. Absolutely. We'll out bullpen you. We'll outmaneuver you. We'll figure out a way to win. Absolutely, we will. And so, sure enough, Mark, they played 4 games. One, they won. They were in the lead the whole way. They won 3-0. The other game, 3-3 in the 8th. Lost. The other game, 5-5 in the 9th. Lost. The other game, 3-3 in the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Lost. Right. By the way, 4 games. How many times they score more than 3 runs?
Once. We put the over-under at 14.5. I think they ended up with 14 runs.
They did. Orioles outscored them 15-14 in the series, but won the series 3-1. The only good news for the Rays, Moulton's positivity on the attendance. Mark went under 80,000.
Knew I was done on Thursday when a little over 20,000 were at the Trop for the first day of the 4-game set. I'm like, well, I've lost this one.
In fact, Saturday was the sellout. They thought Sunday would be. It came close. It was about 1,600 less than a sellout. But 88,000. They averaged 22,000 a game for a 4-game series. Buddy of mine, though, is an Orioles fan. He was there for the Saturday, Sunday games. Both Orioles wins. He's very happy. And he texted me. He said, third base side, Orioles dugout? Yeah, I was Camden Yards all weekend.
Looked like it was about 65-35 raised Oriole fan in the house for the games.
Well, because remember, they do that Sarasota spring training thing. So, those that have relocated there were kind of like, yeah, okay, we're going. And you know what? Let's get a hotel room. Let's go crazy. Let's do the weekend. Woohoo! It was good to see Dick Vitale there for most of the series. He's battling cancer once again. He's about to start 6 weeks of radiation. So it's good to see Dickie V along the third base line in his season tickets. Hoping for the best for the longtime Rays fan. Never mind the fact, basketball Hall of Famer. So, rough weekend for the Florida baseball teams, Mark. Are we bailing or are we still on the wagon?
We're still on the wagon, but the wagon needs to pull over to the rest area and get some reinforcements, David. There is no doubt that both of these teams need some help, and can they get it before the deadline? Will they want to get it before the deadline is the question. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
KW from the old midnight show. We talking Don Kirshner's rock and roll concerts?
Midnight Specials, Wolfman Jack.
Gotcha. Morning, Mongo. So Lamprecht, you see what happened to him Friday? He shot 79. He made the cut on the number. I will explain the magic number of 2, Ambient.
Good.
I have to admit, kind of excited about our fall. Our guest grid looks pretty darn good, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Any word on the golf tournament?
No.
When's our deadline? This week, probably?
Was really to me Friday, but I'll give him till the end of the show today.
For the heck of it, give him till the end of the show tomorrow. Because they don't take us seriously, so we'll give them a day.
Who doesn't take us seriously?
Michigan.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with Michigan.
Yeah, but isn't it the guy?
Isn't it the guy?
The guy, the sponsor. Isn't he supposed to come up with a sponsor?
Yeah, the guy in Tampa is coming up with a sponsor, not Mark.
Right. Well, but I mean,
30 seconds. Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I've added a magic number this morning.
I was going to ask you about this. I don't really pay attention to what you tweet.
Thanks.
But I was perusing during the break, and you had retweeted the show tweet, and
Right.
you always put the magic numbers on there.
Right.
It's 30 this and
33, 38, 45 are the
whatever.
standard. Thought people would get excited, but apparently that's not you.
But you had a 2 on there.
Yes, at 2, 33, 38, and 45. 33, it's week 0.
Right.
38, 5 weeks Thursday. College football, Florida, Utah.
Right.
UCF, Kent State. You know, they're kicking off a Labor Day weekend, starting on a Thursday night. Right. And then 6 weeks Thursday, 45 days away. Lions and Chiefs.
Oh, my.
NFL season. But 2 for this reason. I mean, you and I don't think that training camp starting is a thing. But
No.
there are a lot of people out there that do. And so there's 2 different start dates. There's the rookie report date and the veteran report date. And there's a handful of teams that actually make them both show up at the same time. But most of them allow the veterans to show up 5 to 7 days later. A lot of teams this year, July 18th was when the rookies needed to be there, 18th or 19th. And by the 25th, Mark, which is tomorrow, the veterans need to be there. 31 of the 32 teams, everybody's got to be there by tomorrow. The Steelers are the lone holdout. The Steelers veterans don't have to be there till Wednesday. So, magic number of 2. 2 days away from everybody at training camp. That's when training camp's underway. When the Steelers show up on Wednesday, now training camps are on.
So when I read the Steelers pup list, then I'm ready to go.
Exactly. And remember, and you see a guy put on the pup list, don't freak out. Because you have to put them on the pup list before training camp starts. You can't have them practice for a day and then put them on the pup list. So if a guy is a little shaky physically, or they just want to hold him out for a week, a lot of times they'll put a veteran rehabbing an injury. They put him on the pup list. Then he can, just be on the sideline and ride the bike for a week. Then they activate him. So don't freak out just yet. So that's why the magic number of 2. 2, 33, 38, 45, because by Wednesday, 2 days from now, all 32 teams will have all of their players at training camp.
Woohoo! I was expecting a little more. I thought maybe you had some hidden 2 from somewhere.
Well, it just...
I know it's a few days away from a trade deadline. It wasn't 2. I was
Nope.
very curious.
That's 8. 8 days away from the baseball trading deadline. I haven't worked that in yet. I figure we have to get under a week. Got to get till Wednesday. So once 2 goes away, then 6 will appear. See, and then we'll do it that way. But So 2, 33, 38, 45. Those are your magic numbers. Mark's looking at me like you failed. That was bad.
No, I'm mildly amused over here. I was excited.
Right.
I saw another number on there and I wondered what it was.
So from football to football. So Friday was football night in America. And I'm being serious for a second. So how many of you somehow, some way watched Messi, his MLS debut on Friday night? There was only one way to watch it, right? Apple TV Plus. Click on the MLS thing at the top. They've got just about all of it. I don't think there's any other way to watch. Felipe?
Well, that game specifically was also on Telemundo.
Okay.
If you wanted to watch it in Espanol, you could have.
Okay. And hey, if you don't want to pay for Apple TV or you can't get it or what have you. So did you watch?
I did not.
Is that because you were working?
It's because I didn't find out that I could watch it on Telemundo until after the fact, and that really bothered me. But
because you would have put in a very bad night of work at the TV station if you had known it was on.
Correct.
Felipe's been there long enough, Mark, to figure out how to put what he wants to watch on one of the monitors and actually edit the stuff he's supposed to edit on the others. That's well done, Felipe. Well done.
Good laziness or productivity, however you want to draw that up, Felipe.
It all started with the Chicago race. It was amazing.
So I'm very curious as to how many of you watched, sought it out, whether on Telemundo, which I'm assuming most of our audience is English speaking and you don't watch Telemundo, or you said, you know what, I'm gonna pay the freight. I'm doing it. I'm in. I will say, I thought, for lack of a better word, Mark, thought it was kind of cool to see Serena, LeBron, a Kardashian, all for, a little soccer. MLS at that. I'm like, I mean, think about it. LeBron's based in LA. Okay, now Serena, it's not far from home. Kardashian's got to travel to this. No, it's not a bad place to travel to. I understand. But I was like, really? You put Messi's MLS debut on your schedule. You guys are fairly busy. How about that? LeBron's wife has to be like, let me get this straight. You coach the AAU team, the summer league team there, and then Friday night, or you got to go watch Messi play? Seriously? But also, Mark, 82,000 showed up at MetLife Stadium in Jersey for, what was it, Arsenal Man U or something like that? His biggest soccer crowd ever in that stadium. And that includes Giant Stadium when it was across the parking lot and all that. And then the Women's World Cup match, the United States was playing Vietnam at 9:00 Friday night, and over 5 million people watched.
That stunned me. It's a Friday night in a game that we should have won by 3 times the amount that we won that game.
Vietnam did not have a corner kick or a shot on goal. That's how much we dominated that match. 3-0 the final. 5.2 million people watched on average. Fox on a Friday night from 9 to 11.
That's a big number.
You're damn right it is. This isn't we're to elimination stage or anything like this. This is just, the first match of the World Cup. So Fox got to be thrilled. I mean, thrilled. That's a really good regular college football number. I mean, honestly,
isn't 4 million? Isn't like 4 million the number they look at? Does it draw more than 4 million people?
Yes. Okay. And then if it is, it's considered, kind of a matchup. But if 5.2 million people watched Ole Miss at Alabama at 3:30 on the 4th Saturday this year of the college football season, CBS would go, yeah, we'll take that. That works. was hoping for a little more. It's Alabama, but okay. So, plus, not only that, let's be honest, it was Women's World Cup. It's not men's. And I know they're more successful, but they got the eyeballs. It's one of the reasons why they wanted the same amount of money. It's like, hey, they watch us too. Trust us. So it was kind of soccer night in America, Mark, Friday night. In Jersey, 82,000 paying customers, granted, 2 non-American teams. Messi's debut and the Women's World Cup against Vietnam.
And you watched. I didn't turn it on. Was stunned that we only won 3-0. But the numbers were massive for a first round World Cup women's soccer game. Whatever you missed, we'll get to that next. It's called the Starting Five right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Super Joe, they had the women or they had Messi? By the way, the England-USA World Cup match, men's World Cup match, and like you pointed out, it was on Black Friday versus this one on July 21st. It did almost 3 times that. It did 15.4 million. So I came home last night. There's like 8 bags of garbage sitting near the front door. All shredded material. My wife went nuts over the weekend while I was gone. We got a stack of books we got to take to the library. We got like music we're taking to a nearby school. She just, man, I'm going to have to sleep in a hotel for a couple of days, see what she does if I'm gone a couple more. How's gymnastics? Was it a 1-week thing? Is it over?
It's over.
Does that mean she's showing up in an hour?
No, she spent the night at my mom's last night.
Okay. Oh, so you two had a wild night. You were up to about what, 9:30?
I think we made it till 9:30. Sounds about right.
Right. Yeah, my wife was in bed at 8:30. Yep. These are wild, raucous times, ladies and gentlemen. Wild, raucous times. Adam, welcome to the show. Oh, look at Mr. Boot. 6. What are the ages, Mr. Boute? Wow. Six kids. Look at you. Man. So you go away on vacation, you say to your wife, listen, the American Express bill is going to come, don't open it. So what does she do? She opens
it.
It's the only thing I asked. Listen, just leave the bills to me.
Did you freak out?
Oh, yeah. I said, well, if you're freaking out from that one, I really wouldn't. Don't open the next couple.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Ron Sirak will join us an hour from now. We'll recap the Open Championship and also look ahead to who should be on the U.S. Ryder Cup team. And really, where does golf go from here? Ron Sirak, 1 hour from now. Steve Carney, top of the 8 o'clock hour. Rays. Tough stretch here. They're in second place now. They're a wild card team. And a couple hours from now, we'll head to our nation's capital. There's a new sheriff in town. Magic Johnson says, hell, we're changing the name. Enjoy the Commanders. Get your gear. This is the final year we're going to be selling that stuff. I think Josh Harris realized who he was getting in bed with late last week when Magic starts doing interviews going, yep, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And they asked Josh. Josh like, oh, really? Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Got to give it up to Brian Harman. Took control of the Open Championship with a 665 on Friday in tough conditions when people were struggling to score. That gave him a 5-shot cushion. And even though he had never won a major before, he played like he had. 269 on Saturday, in which he got hot late. And then a brilliant 70 yesterday in awful conditions. And he wins the said Open Championship by 6. The lefty's first major. He's the third lefty to win a major in the last 60 years, ever since Bob Charles won the Open in 63. Mike Weir, Phil Mickelson, Brian Harman. Also, Harman joins Charles and Mickelson as the third lefty to win the Open. 4-way tie for second, including John Rahm and Jason Day. Rory finished T6, Cam Young T8, Fleetwood and Max Homa finished T10. Ricky, Jordan Spieth, Scotty Scheffler all finished T23. Brian Harman is now the 10th ranked golfer in the world. And yet he's not an automatic qualifier on the Ryder Cup team. I mean, he'll be on it, but I don't believe he's in the top 6.
Thought the cool story was that Matthew Jordan, the kid that played his home course there, because Fleetwood screwed up on 17, it propelled Jordan into the top 10 that gets him in next year's tournament. I thought that was one of the benefits, unfortunately, of Fleetwood having a little bit of a meltdown there on 17, because he played really good golf yesterday, did Fleetwood, but had one tough hole on 17.
Also a good story, the Fitzpatricks. Matthews won the U.S. Open, and he's the better of the two golfers, but his younger brother, Alex, there qualified, played really well. And Matthew told his parents, listen, just go follow him. Don't worry about me. Okay, go follow him. All right, he's the story. And I think he beat Matthew.
Yes, he did.
In the tournament, so that was cool. Baseball. Orioles took 3 of 4 from the Rays. Rays had their pitching lined up. Rays were home. Baltimore came in, won Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. 5-3 yesterday, held the Rays to just 3 hits. Rays have lost 14 of 18. In their last 67 games, they're 32 and 35. Basically, they're the Mets. That should scare the blank out of you. How about the Baltimore Orioles, huh? They're just calling up another guy.
In the big, bad, expensive AL East, it's the Orioles followed by the Rays.
The Blue Jays are in third, and they're technically the 6th seed. They beat Seattle 4-3. Yankees swept the Royals. Rizzo homered. Did you see what they did?
Yes, I did.
It gave him the silent treatment. He hadn't homered in 7 weeks. He homers, the crowd's going crazy. He gets to the dugout, they completely ignore him.
It was spectacular.
It really was. Red Sox beat the Mets last night 6-1. They took 2 of 3 in the series. Red Sox and Yankees still tied for last, but they're both just 2 behind Toronto for the final playoff spot in the American League. Marlins had lost 8 straight. Had a 2-1 lead in the 9th. Gave up a homer. 2-2 going extras with Colorado. Thankfully, Luis Ariz with the game-winning RBI. Did you see what Colorado did, too? They brought their entire outfield into the infield. Ariz won it 3-2 Miami. Whoo! Both the Rays and Marlins off today. They're going to play each other Tuesday and Wednesday at the Trop.
Someone has to win.
Yes. Thank goodness they're not adopting Miller and Moulton's rules, in which you could actually tie. Braves double up the Brewers 4-2. They take 2 of 3 from Milwaukee. Braves leads 11.5. Brewers leads down to a half a game. Why? Because Mark Miller's Cincinnati Reds are back on fire. They got their act together in the middle of last week, and they haven't lost since. Took care of the Diamondbacks over the weekend, 7-3. Swept them. The Reds are the 4 seed in the National League right now, and they're half a game away from being the 3 seed. Giants have lost 5 in a row. The Nats swept them. Ouch. 6-1. And even though the Dodgers lost to Texas 8-4, Rangers avoided the sweep. Dodgers with a 4-game lead suddenly over both San Francisco and Arizona. Texas win means that Houston's still 3 back in the West. Houston beat Oakland 3-2. Okay. Houston, the 5 seed right now. They're 3 back at Texas for the division lead. But Rays are the 4. Houston's a game ahead of Toronto at 5-6 right now. So the Rays would host the Astros in a best of 3 if the playoffs started today. Ohtani homered. Did you see the homer, by the way?
I did not.
The only other guy who hits homers like the one Ohtani hit yesterday is Stanton. Remember when Stanton would hit those 2-iron homers with the Marlins and they barely cleared the fence, but they were going to go another 100 feet and they were going to kill people? Okay, Ohtani hit a hooded 2-iron homer to center field last night for the Angels. 7-5 over the Pirates. Angels are suddenly 2 games over 500. This is their last home game before the trading deadline. Did Ohtani play his last game in Anaheim?
Or are they buyers because they're back over 500 and are in a spot where they can make a run for the playoffs?
Right, and Trout, in theory, comes back in 2-3 weeks. Right. Ohtani's 36th homer, by the way. Cubs, they won the last 3 of a 4-game series with the Cardinals, 7-2 the final. I say this even though they're below the Mendoza line. They're 6.5 back of Milwaukee. I say it because they have far and away the best run differential in the division. The Cubs should be better in their record. They have an interesting decision because, do they keep what they have and say we're a better team than our record and I'm going to keep them together? This division's winnable. Or do they go, come on, Stroman's going to opt out, so he's pitching great. We'll trade him now. We'll get a lot for him and make those kind of deals. Twins beat the White Sox 5-4-12. Their lead in the Central is 3 over the Guardians, who lost to Philadelphia 8-5-10. The Phillies with 4 in the 10th to win it. Both the Phillies and Marlins would miss the playoffs if the playoffs started today, because the Reds would be the 4 and the Giants and Diamondbacks are tied at 5-6. I don't know who wins that tiebreaker. Both the Phillies and Marlins are a game behind the Diamondbacks and Giants. They both missed the play. Only one playoff team from the NL East as of this morning. What do you do if you're the Padres? You lost to the Tigers 3-1. You're 6 back for the final playoff spot. This weekend was Baseball Hall of Fame weekend.
Yes, it was.
Didn't garner as much attention as it normally does. Do you think it's because the 2 guys who got in were Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland?
Might have had something to do with it, David.
I will say longtime Cubs voice Pat Hughes won the Ford C. Frick Award, and he got into the Hall of Fame. To a lot of people, McGriff and Rowland don't feel like Hall of Famers. Now, I'm a crime dog guy. 493 homers, same as Lou Gehrig. And if we didn't have the strike in 94, early part of 95, that was McGriff's prime, he would have had 500 homers. Never accused of being even remotely associated with a steroid user. 500 homers is an automatic. So to me, the crime dog was an automatic. Also, the Tampa native did not go in with a logo on his hat because he played for 6 different teams and I think drove in 100 runs with 5 of them. And they didn't know which team to put him. When you think Fred McGriff, who do you think? You think Braves, Blue Jays?
I think Braves.
Okay. That's where he won his ring. He was on, I believe, both the 95 and 96 Braves that went back-to-back World Series. But, I will say, there aren't many terrific players like Fred McGriff that play on as many teams as he did. NASCAR, do you take Denny Hamlin or the field when they race at Pocono? I take Denny Hamlin. Yesterday I won. Hamlin, for his 7th time, he won at Pocono. He actually has crossed the finish line first 8 times because he did so last year and they took the win away from him because he failed post-race inspection. And NASCAR never does that. So that was the 50th win in Denny Hamlin's career. Tyler Reddick 2nd, Martin Truex Jr. 3rd, Harvick 4th, Ty Gibbs 5th. Tampa's Eric Almirola 12th, and Ross Chastain finished 13th. Truex still leads the points. Chastain is 5th. Amarola 25th. He needs a win here, does Eric, to make the playoffs. Women's World Cup. We talked about it. 5.2 million of you watched the U.S. on Friday, beat Vietnam 3-0. Wednesday night, 9 o'clock on Fox, Team USA against the Netherlands. Messi, right out of Hollywood with the final seconds of stoppage time. Free kick, gorgeous goal. Just a beauty. And Inter Miami 1-2-1 on Friday. By the way, the Charlotte Hornets were officially sold. Michael Jordan became majority owner of the Hornets 13 years ago for $275 million. Did you see what they were sold for?
Little over $3 billion.
A valuation of $3 billion. He's going to stay on as a minority owner, but he sold like 90% of the team. The vote to sell was 29-1.
Right, your guy in New York was the only one that voted against it.
I know. This is like Mike Brown of the Bengals, Al Davis of the Raiders, being the one. So Austin Eckler decides that he and the other big-time running backs, they need to talk over what's going on in the NFL. So they had a highly publicized Zoom call yesterday. Chubb, Barkley, Derrick Henry, McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Eckler, they were all on it. And Chubb then basically says afterwards, yeah, there's really nothing we can do.
There it is. Great talk, guys. And I'm getting screwed next. I got a nice contract, but it's the only one I'm going to get.
Back to you, Jim, in the studio. Right. Yeah, 7 more years on the CBA. Darn right, there's nothing you can do. You're all blanked. You'll all be retired the next time there's a chance to do something about this. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
All right. Very quickly, we're putting the playbook together. If you're the Players Association, what is it you're going to ask for from the owners 7 years from now?
Well, there's only one thing to ask for. It's guaranteed contracts.
And I do think that the sport would go to war over it. I do.
I do too, but we talk about the running backs. It's a small percentage of players. I don't know how much everybody else is worried about what the running backs are making. I don't know if the safeties and the D linemen care that the running backs have been devalued in terms of in the grand scheme of things.
What I do think what's happening to the running back is bringing out, though, is that if I'm the players, 5 years till free agency is too long. I got to shorten that by a year. Okay, that's number one. And number two, you can't tag the same guy twice. That's what I would also advocate. I want to reduce 5 to 4, and you can only tag me once.
And it will be interesting to see if they do that for the younger players, because typically, who does the league take care of? The established veterans, not the guys coming off of their first contract. It's something that'll be years down the road, but we'll pay attention on Miller and Moulton.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, Only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I also got an email about that, and I don't understand how that was possible because I sent everything that needed to be sent.
Yeah, but you got to get confirmations from them. You got to follow up and make sure they got them.
Adam, I think you're going to be disappointed in the number of wins your Colorado Buffaloes are going to deliver this year. You do know the over-under is 3.5, right?
Adam, Colorado will not go to a bowl game this year. If he goes to a bowl game, he will have done a miraculous job coaching the Colorado Buffaloes.
If he goes to a bowl game, he'll
Can't hear you, David.
If he goes to a bowl game,
can't hear you. Is David on? Is David's mic on?
Oh, my fault. Sorry. I can hear you, David.
If Deion goes to a bowl, he might be Pac-12 Coach of the Year. Which, when you think of it, 1-11 to 6-6 should be a finalist for Coach of the Year.
Yes.
Yeah, Adam, there's a difference between high school and Power 5 football. I'm just telling you, their roster, it's a complete overhaul, over 50 different guys, which they needed. But, I mean, Adam, I think it's going to take more than one off season. That's what we're saying. But they desperately needed change. Golly. Paul, I remember when the NFL gave running backs huge contracts. In fact, will any running back ever make per year what Christian McCaffrey is making now?
No.
Woo.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Thanks so much for being with us. Magic numbers 33, 38, and 45 till week 0, week 1 of the college football seasons, and then kickoff Lions and Chiefs of the NFL season, 33, 38, and 45 days away. By Wednesday, within 2 days, every NFL team will have all their players in camp. Most of the teams get everybody in town by tomorrow. The Steelers are the holdouts. They force everybody to get in town by Wednesday.
But don't worry about all 31 other teams being at camp. The Jets are in camp, and that's all we need to focus on from a national perspective. They are America's team this year. Aaron Rodgers is there, and we will hear about them on the four-letter network at unbelievable amounts. In fact, to the point of nauseum, you will hear about the Jets over the course of the next 3 weeks.
I have to admit, you sound like somebody who's already done with the Jets.
Done.
Come on now.
I thought Salah wearing the I Love HK shirt was cute.
Right, that's Hard
After
Knocks.
the
right.
team has said they want nothing to do with Hard Knocks.
Right. You do know they've had 12 straight, non-playoff seasons. I mean,
let's go for 13. There is no team in the league that I'm rooting against more than the New York Jets this year.
Wow. Where is this coming from?
The childish-like attitude that they've had with Hard Knocks. As if we didn't know they were going to get picked for being on Hard Knocks. We're going to make this impossible on them. We're not going to cooperate. We don't want to. I'm taking my ball and going home. The New York babies. I
will say Rodgers has lost some weight. All right. That the diet, the holistic stuff he's doing, the hallucinogenics, he's taking, psychedelics. I don't know. Anyway, he looks thinner. He looks like Brady, last year with the Bucks, who looked like he lost an additional 10 pounds. I mean, don't get me wrong. Made him even more handsome. He looked phenomenal. But just as a football player, he looked a touch skinny. That's all. Rodgers has that look. Also, now because of it, the helmet looks really big on him. Okay, he looks like a Jetson, not a jet. Okay, a Jetson when he's got that helmet on. It's like,
well, definitely George. Elroy was a little chubby, so George was the skinny Jetson,
right?
The father.
So, all right, I want you to play general manager of the Rays, and we don't have to get into specifics. But so now you're 2 back of the Orioles. You've gone over 2 months now playing 500 or below baseball. You're 32 and 35 in your last 67. So how good are you? Because I think you have to answer that question, because then that determines how aggressive you're going to be at the deadline in 8 days, doesn't it? Like if you think you're a good team, and injuries have bogged you down, and I just need to supply some reinforcements to get us back over the hump. We'll get guys healthy again, and we'll pick up where we left off in May. Then you're aggressive. But if you look at one another and go, we were way over our skis the first 2 months, and I don't know how good we are, then you probably don't trade half your system trying to go to the World Series this year. I'm just curious, your gut feeling, you're running the Rays. What are you thinking?
Well, the first thing, David, and stop me when you disagree with me, but isn't the American League a lot like the NFC? There's no great in the American League right now.
I would agree with that.
So getting to a World Series seems feasible this year, because I don't think there's greatness in the American League. I don't think the Rangers are great. Certainly don't think the Twins are great. I don't think the Orioles are great, even though they just took 3 or 4 from the Rays. The Astros, maybe. They've got the pedigree.
Yeah, they're banged up, though. Don't know how healthy they're going to get by the playoffs either, but if they get in, they're dangerous, that's for sure.
But I think the American League is there for the taking, David. So I couldn't lay down if I were the Rays GM right now. Couldn't do it.
Well, I didn't say would you lay down. My question is, how aggressive are you going to be? I mean, you could be San Diego Padres-esque here if you want. I mean, you could trade half your system here. There's guys you could go get. Hell, you can go get 2 starters. You can get a starter, a bat, and 2 relievers if you want. You can go nuts right now. You could get guys who you not only would have for the stretch here in 23, you could get guys who you'd also have in 24. I mean, in all honesty, you could call up the Mets and say, Steve, how much money are you willing to take on? We got the prospects that you want. Mets have no pitching in their system. They really don't. Their pitching's far away. They got it. It's at the low minors. Okay. The Rays can look at them and go, listen, okay, if you're willing to take on the salary here, we'll give you the prospects. You want to buy prospects? Let's talk. 3 hits the Rays had yesterday. They've lost 14 of 18. They've scored 3 runs or less in most of those games.
Yeah, they had 3 runs with 1 hit yesterday, everyone. That game was tied 3-3. They had 1 hit. It was a home run.
You know, Wander Franco's down to 267. Arena's down to 269.
And he's not hitting for power anymore. Arena's not hitting home runs.
Hasn't really since late May. He's kind of pulled a Rizzo here. He's played better, but he hasn't hit with power. Ever since Randy Land, he hasn't hit home runs.
No. And your guy just hitting the fielder's choices yesterday, Brandon Lau, who you enjoy watching play so much, David, because of that pop that he has with his bat. And by pop, that was 2.5 years ago.
He's hitting 205, by the way. So I'm just curious, how aggressive, if you're the Rays, are you going to be?
Well, David, you started this off asking the question, how good are the Rays? I don't know. I think the Rays are a lot more like this 32-35 stretch than they are the team that started the season. I know they're banged up, but they're not hitting right now. And their bullpen's not very good. Not a good combination. I would be ultra aggressive, David. I would. I think the American League is there for the taking. I'd be all in.
All in.
All in.
Okay. All right. Now we're talking. And that's not necessarily saying Ohtani. I mean, there are guys out there. I mean, listen, there are teams who might be willing to tear it down. Now, I don't know that the Rays, because they don't need a first baseman. I mean, Diaz right now is the only guy on the team hitting, for goodness sakes. He had 2 hits, 2 RBIs yesterday. He's hitting 317. He's the only guy hitting. They don't need a first baseman. But, I mean, you could probably take the Rays have the prospects. There's nobody they couldn't get if they want them. Let's be brutally honest. There's nobody. I mean, they could take Juan Soto off of the Padres. And the Padres have to be thinking to themselves, I don't know if we can sign this guy. And we offered him like $400 million. He said, no, I'll talk to you in a year and a half. So if you're the Padres, do you go, well, we might as well just, we're 6 out of the playoffs right now. We got to leapfrog 4 teams to get in. I mean, should we trade Soto now? I mean, if you're the Rays, do you acquire Blake Snell and Juan Soto from the Padres? You get Snell for 2 months. You get Soto for a year and 2 months. How would Juan Soto look in that outfield, by the way?
And there's a hole to me in right field.
So, I mean, that's what I'm asking, Rays fan. How aggressive you want to be here. By the way, you can rehash a system. The Padres gave up so much in the last 3 years to have put together the team that they put together. There's hardly anybody in baseball who has as many top 100 prospects as the Padres. I mean, you can still have dudes if you're doing your job. But I'm with you, Mark. I mean, listen, I would raid the Mets. I would. They just lost another series. They're 4-5 since the All-Star break. They've lost 7 of their last 11. Okay, they're selling. I'd get ahead of the pack right now. It's an off day for you. It's an off day for them. Let's make a deal.
And you brought this up a while ago that the trades have been slow to come about, basically because GMs were so worried about the draft. We'll see if this week brings the baseball trades to the forefront. We still have 8 days till the deadline, but will someone jump out first and want to make a deal?
I mean, we know the Padres and Mets don't want to sell, but the Mets are 8 out, and they have to leapfrog 5 or 6 teams. Come on. I mean, the Cubs are ahead of the Mets, for goodness sakes. I mean, you just have to face reality. I mean, what? You have one good week? Really? You go 4-2 this week, you're going to change your mind? Really? Come on. I mean, if you're the Padres, do you hold out just a little longer because you're positive run differential and you look at your team and you go, man, we got a lot of good players. What in the world's going on here? Especially with their pitching. Their pitching's like top 5 in baseball. It's amazing they're below 500 with the pitching they're getting in that lineup. At least the name's in it anyway. But I mean, for goodness sake, like you can't make a deal with the White Sox right now. Seriously?
Or the Cardinals.
Right? Who the GM last week said, we are trading guys. Okay, I need guys.
And Baltimore has said they're not going to be that aggressive at the trade deadline. You have an opportunity to take advantage of a team that won't trade. And I know it's not your normal MO to make a bunch of deals, but the division's there for the taking still, and the league is there for the taking.
I know the Orioles are on a roll. I know they're in first. I really do think, though, they need a starting pitcher who can just give them innings. They don't get a lot of depth from their pitching. Their bullpen's been amazing, but do you want to keep working it as hard as you're working it? That's all. I would go get an innings guy. If you don't want to be super aggressive, fine, but come on. So that Rays fans, we're just asking. Scale of 1 to 10. 10's uber aggressive. What do you want them to be in the next 8 days? Miller and Moulton.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By the way, for those of you into baseball, there's a story on ESPN.com right now in which the guy's name is Doolittle. He looks back at the major deals at the deadline last year, and he takes a look at how we graded them a year ago and how they look a year later. And he was wrong a lot. And he's pretty honest about it.
How was Oppenheimer?
Incredible. I watched Barbie as well. Barbie was a classic. It was good. At no point did I ever think it was too cringe or unbearable. I thought it was a perfectly entertaining movie that was worth the watch.
Would you stay and watch two movies for one?
No. Watched one day and the other day. Maybe cinema isn't dead after all.
Why were the theaters packed?
For Barbie, it was, yeah. But I watched Oppenheimer early yesterday because I had work.
What'd you think?
It was incredible.
Incredible.
Wow.
Wow.
It was very deep. Very, very deep.
Well, it was kind of important subject matter.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you. Excuse me.
I have a lighthearted thing for 5-6 minutes before we do
Oh, great.
play of the day. If you're interested. And Mark, you will be judge and jury. Mark, Felipe, our Twitch chat room, text line. In fact, could be our poll question. Just saying. Could be our poll question.
It's your day today. It's National Drive-Through Day today, David.
Is it really? My mom's so fired up, they moved the Dunkin' that she goes to like a mile closer to her. And they made it a drive-through, so she doesn't have to go in all the time. She's so happy. It's the little things. Although she's upset with them that they just call themselves Dunkin' now. I said, yeah, but they keep the 2 Ds. She goes, yeah, but they're just Dunkin'. She goes, not to me. I go, okay, Mom.
They're a coffee shop, not a donut shop.
Right.
I remember they were a sponsor of the hockey team I worked for back in the early 90s. They were a coffee company then. It's all they cared about was selling coffee.
Pretty big profit margin on the coffee.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour, Ron Sirak will join us in a little more than 15 minutes. Brian Harmon wins the Open by 6. And now Zach Johnson's got a Ryder Cup team to put together. Got a couple of big-name guys who are in the tank. Talk to Ron Sirak in a little more than 15 minutes about that. So, listen, we got the Clutch Vodka play of the day coming up, and neither one of us has talked to Felipe about it, so we have no idea what he's going to do. So that's interesting, although I have a guess.
I do too.
All right. Were you paying attention to Twitter at any point in time last night?
No.
Okay. So for whatever reason, I saw this on Twitter last night, not during the day. So the Tennessee Titans are making a big deal out of the fact that they're going to have a throwback jersey. Well, the Tennessee Titans used to be the Houston Oilers. So yes, that's right. They're going there. This is like the Carolina Hurricanes wearing the Hartford Whalers jersey, except Hartford hasn't gotten an NHL team since.
David, what this is, it's the Baltimore Ravens wearing Browns jerseys.
Right.
That's really what this is.
Yes. Although the NFL made, Cleveland keep their name in the whole deal. But yes. This happens in hockey. Okay. And this is where the two hockey goobers on the show, okay, quite frankly, all right, the Minnesota North Stars moved to Dallas and became the Dallas Stars. But then Minnesota got a team, and they are the Minnesota Wild. Who should have the rights to the North Stars jersey? The Dallas Stars claim it. Okay, when they do a throwback, they wear the North Stars. Okay, and so Mark, Felipe, our text and Twitch audience, I think it should be the poll question of the day. Who should have the rights to the Houston Oilers helmet and jersey? The Tennessee Titans or the Houston Texans? The city or the team?
And it's the city. I don't think this vote would be close, and I have no problem putting the poll question up because I've been wrong many a time. But Love You Blue is the Houston Oilers.
Correct, but they became the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I understand. They also played in Memphis for a couple of years. Are they going to wear the showboat?
They weren't the showboats. They weren't the showboats. Come on now. They do not have a Reggie White USFL jersey as a throwback. Come on now. It's a good line, though. So just curious, city or team, who should have the property? And can it switch, quite frankly? Kind of like the Carolina Hurricanes own the Hartford Whalers. The Whalers became the Hurricanes. If Hartford, which will never happen, were to get an NHL team again someday, as part of the transaction, the Hurricanes have to return the gear. Here you go. We can't use this anymore.
Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, I just had to do a little brass bonanza for everybody who wanted it, and that probably was just me.
And Felipe's like, all right, I got to look that up. I have no idea what you're talking about. First one of the day.
That's all right. People that are old don't know that reference either. That is you have to be a Hartford Whaler fan to even understand that one.
So, Felipe, gut feeling, okay? Who owns the Houston Oilers stuff? Is it the team, the Titans, or the city of Houston, therefore the Texans?
I feel like it's the city. You're wearing what represents Houston, not Tennessee.
And I don't, and maybe Tennessee Titan fans will go out and buy old Houston Oiler jerseys in droves.
Well, which I love the Oilers helmet. Love the blue. Love you, blue. Oh my goodness. If I much prefer them to the Titans garb. Please, if I'm a Titans fan, I'm like, can we go back to these? I'll even do the oil rig. I know it doesn't have anything to do with Nashville. I don't care. It looks better.
Right. They're the Utah Jazz, after all. Does a name really have to reflect an area?
The LA Lakers. I mean, it made sense when they were Minneapolis Lakers, landed 10,000 lakes. LA Lakers? What the hell? Find me a lake.
So I think it belongs to the city.
Okay.
Even though it does not, it belongs to the team.
Right. But, is this... I think this is a crisis. I think it was because clearly the NFL doesn't take, misbehaving and what have you seriously, but this is serious business here. We got to have we got to have a meeting about this. Okay. Who owns the stuff?
If I were the Texans, I mean, I wouldn't be honked off, but it would bother me a little bit. Because
if I was a fan, it would really bother me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The fan, but I mean, the Texans could make money off of this.
Sure.
If this was the Texans throwback jersey, fans would wear these to games. I don't see a big percentage of Tennessee Titan fans going out and buying Tennessee Oiler, Houston Oiler throwbacks.
I don't know, man. Jerseys.
I know you love the jersey, David, but most people buy the jersey because of the team.
I know. By the way, they're not going to wear them once. They're going to wear them twice. It's like the Bucks wearing the creamsicles, not once, but twice. Hell, at least it was the Bucks jersey. This has never been the Titans jersey. I think it should be a poll question. Who owns it, team or city?
Done. Put it up.
Oh, well. Well, it was a good idea.
We'll get that.
That's how we work
during the break.
Thought that's how we worked. I came up with the idea. You put it into words. No?
I'll get it done. Felipe, it's time for you to do your work now. The Clutch Vodka play of the day. What do you got for us?
2023 Leagues Cup group stage match. Cruz Azul versus Inter Miami. Messi's debut. We've all waited for this moment. And what better of a situation than the last kick of the game with Lionel Messi at the helm?
4 men in the wall for Cruz Azul, a drafting scooter behind them. The whistle sounds. Messi approaches. He goes for it, and he scores! Lionel Messi on his debut has produced a moment of magic everyone came to see. With the last kick of the game, Lionel Messi has won it for Inter Miami. Unbelievable.
That announcer's got to be so happy. He was calling games for a crap team that nobody cared about and nothing mattered. And now he has thrust himself into the Miami sports scene for the rest of this year, at least, while he gets to call Inter Miami games with Messi on the pitch.
Chris Whittingham, 560 WQAM, went from calling games for a couple thousand people to a couple million people.
Hell.
Instantly.
If Messi can keep on being Messi, and if he can keep rising to the occasion, hell, he may be doing the World Cup on Fox in 3 years.
What Messi can do to an organization.
Was that the moment of magic, right? Is that how he put it? A moment of magic? I love how theatrical soccer announcers are. I really do. I absolutely love it. I mean, there's a lot about the sport and the game that drive me crazy. The flopping, honestly, I want to ban the players. That's how much it bothers me. I want to ban them. Not for life, but for a short time. In fact, I want to put them in like a box at the next match where they can be mocked and people in a dunk tank for the next week. They have to sit in a dunk tank and get dunked every day for their flopping. Okay. But I do love the announcers.
You couldn't have scripted a better moment and a better introduction for Messi. I mean, that's Messi territory. A free
script
kick
would have been rejected. It's too hokey. Come on.
It's too good to be true. But Messi is in Miami, and he's balling.
Listen to him.
Felipe doesn't really know for sure because he didn't watch it. He's seen
No.
one highlight from the game, but he's balling.
He's balling.
Miller and Moulton, balling like Messi. Ron Sirak to talk golf. That's next on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So the Tennessee Titans are wearing Houston Oilers throwback this season. Who should have rights to the jersey? The team, the city. Right?
Yes.
And I put Titans in parentheses, and I put Houston in parentheses after the city. There, 34, you can vote on it. Knock yourself out.
The greatest Oiler Titan of all time? Well, a little biased here, but some would say Warren Moon. I would probably go Earl Campbell, even though his career was shorter. Yeah, I know Eddie played a little longer. Eddie George was not a better running back than Earl Campbell. Now, you could say he had a better career because he did it longer, but yeah, the Derrick Henry one's interesting. Might have to.
Derrick Henry's a better running back than Earl Campbell.
Yeah, okay.
And that hurts.
That means Derrick Henry. So you're saying if Derrick Henry retired today, he'd go to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ron's on hold. We're back in 30.
Now, when you put Derrick Henry in that Houston Oilers jersey, that'll be the greatest player in franchise history.
Does Derrick Henry not run like Earl Campbell, though? I mean, I'm saying in the sense that he runs people over.
He does. He does. They're so different in size, though, but yes.
Here we go. Yeah, Derrick Henry is a monster.
So was Earl Campbell.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Steve Carney will join us at the top of the hour. Talk about the Rays. Oof. Losers of 14 of 18. 2 back in the East now. Where do they go from here? Talk to Steve Carney about it at the top of the hour. Scott Jackson from our nation's capital, 1 hour from now. Ron Sirak, kind enough to join us once again, a contributor to the Golf Channel. He writes about golf at ronsirak.com, S-I-R-A-K, ronsirak.com. That's also how you follow him on Twitter at Ron Sirak, S-I-R-A-K. Ron, it's David and Mark. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. That was a very fascinating British Open, wasn't it?
Well, and we had Open Championship weather, too, in 2 of the 4 days, which we don't always get. And let's give it up to the winner, shall we? He was great.
You know, you kept waiting for the big mistake. You kept waiting for a gorse bush or a pot bunker or the out of bounds, something to claim him. But except for that drive on number 5 yesterday, he did not hit one sketchy shot on a difficult Sunday in which they played in a steady rain. He showed putting your tee ball in the fairway and being able to make putts will win you a lot of golf tournaments.
Set a record for the fewest putts ever needed to win an Open Championship with 106 putts over the 4 days. But you're right, Ron. It was a combination of his putting and his driving of the golf ball, because after the bogey on 5, he birdies a couple of holes there to get himself right back to the big lead. And what seemed as if a moment there might be a tournament, he made that disappear really quickly.
You know, I think what we saw, too, is links golf courses really create a level playing field, because it takes bomb and gouge golf out of the equation. You really got to know your run out distances. You got to know how to miss the pot bunkers. You got to really maneuver your golf ball around the golf course, and it makes accuracy off the tee more than distance off the tee rewarded in a great way. And we saw that with him. There were several people who started to make sort of runs at him on Sunday. Probably, the guy who could have put pressure on him if he'd been able to make a putt was Tommy Fleetwood, who seemed to have a 10-foot birdie putt on every hole and couldn't make any of them. Meanwhile, and I think I'm right on this, Brian Harman missed one putt under 10 feet the entire week.
Right. Not 6 feet, 10 feet. I mean, that's
Right.
that's Crenshaw at the Masters-esque, Ron.
Yeah, and to me, again, that's one of the things that I like about links golf courses is the greens over there are not as contoured as they are in the United States. In part, it's because of the wind. They don't putt as fast as they do in the United States. Again, they do that intentionally because the wind can really blow there. What it means is guys can try to make more putts. You could really see somebody with a 20, 30-footer trying to make the putt, where a lot of times in the Masters or the U.S. Open, you're just lagging. You're just hoping, get me close so I don't have a scary next putt coming back. The fact that they can be aggressive and go after the hole, I think makes for very exciting golf.
We talked about it earlier, Ron. There were, 15 players between 7 under and 5 under or something around that, something in that range, 11 players or so. I mean, without Harman, this is a really competitive tournament. I think that does talk about how well he played, and we're merely passing by. And, this doesn't seem to get the acclaim that it should, because he beat the world's best, and he didn't just beat him, he pounded him.
Yeah, and to go into the weekend with a 5-stroke lead is difficult. I mean, it seems counterintuitive, but it's hard to play with a big lead because the expectation is all on your shoulder. You are expected to win. And, I tweeted this on Saturday, that if you threw him out of the mix, and you do this, when one player separates himself from the field, if you're a chaser, you look at second place and say, I got to get to the guy in second place and hope the guy on top falters. And a lot of people did that. And there was Tom Kim, Sepp Straka, Jason Day, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Cam Young, Tommy Fleetwood were all within 2 shots of each other in that race for second place, but he never came backwards. Harman never opened the door and gave anybody that chance to make a move on him, because to make a move on him, he was going to have to come back to the pack with that kind of lead. No one was going to shoot 63, 64 on Sunday. And I felt when he teed off in the morning, if he shot even par, he was the British Open champion. And he went out and he did 1 stroke better than that.
He's Ron Sirak, a legendary golf writer. You see him occasionally on the Golf Channel. You can read him at ronsirak.com, Sirak, and that's how you follow him on Twitter, at Ron Sirak. We'll get to Rory in a moment. Let's talk Scotty Scheffler. In the Masters, 2nd tee to green, 50th in putting. PGA, best in the field tee to green, 34th in putting. U.S. Open, 3rd tee to green, 37th in putting. Open Championship, 3rd tee to green, dead last in putting. I mean, he won the Masters because of his short game 2 years ago. He became number 1 in the world because he was making everything. What the heck? Not only that, he's not in his mid-30s. He's still in his 20s. People don't lose their putting in their 20s. Ron, what's going on?
No, when we saw people like Tom Watson and Nick Faldo lose their putting touch, it was in their 30s. It was in their mid and late 30s when they started to. And what I'm worried about with Scotty is, and I've seen this happen over and over again, when you start to struggle with the putter, eventually it puts pressure on the rest of your game. Because eventually you're going to be standing there thinking, I got to hit this really close. And when you're thinking, I got to hit this really close, you don't hit it really close. You just got to play free and easy the way Scotty's been playing for 2 years. He's got to turn this putting around really, really quickly. He's not a bad putter. Even now, he's not a bad putter. He's just not making enough putts. I think he can get back to the way that he used to have that up and down game around there. But he's got to turn it around quickly. He's got to find somebody to work with and just get out there and start to make those makeable putts find the hole.
And Mark, what concerns me is, what does the Ryder Cup always come down to? I mean, they're all hitting the ball great. It comes down to who makes putts. Right now, we got a bunch of Americans who aren't putting.
The Ryder Cup might be something that will help Scotty turn around, because you putt differently in match play. You have a different mindset. A lot of times in match play, particularly if you're playing best ball out there, you're not so much worried about the next putt. You're worried about, you look at all those European guys who couldn't make putts in majors. Colin Montgomery, Lee Westwood, Sergio Garcia. They were brilliant. Ian Poulter, brilliant putters in Ryder Cup play because it's a different mentality in match play. You're trying to make every putt. You're not just getting it up there and worried about that 4-footer coming back, because a lot of times the 4-footer coming back doesn't matter. So maybe the Ryder Cup and getting there and putting with that sort of mindset will help turn Scotty around.
Well, speaking of the Ryder Cup, from a captain's pick standpoint, this is going to be really interesting because you got guys like Justin Thomas that aren't playing all that great, and normally they're for sure Ryder Cuppers. Zach Johnson's got some difficult decisions ahead of him, doesn't he?
Yeah, I would still have Justin Thomas on my radar screen, because particularly in the best ball format, which is 2 matches, he would be very, very useful. He probably would be sketchy for you in alternate shot play, and you wouldn't want to put him out there. But I'd take him on the team for his experience and for the scariness that he is who he is. And I'd run him out there in the 2 best ball matches and in the singles match, and and hope that you get 2 or 2.5 of the 3 points that he can get.
So, I mean, he has no form right now. You know who else doesn't have any form? Tony Finau, since he won, hasn't finished in the top 30. I mean, so you would ride these guys off of reputation, resume, and their ceiling. If you're Zach, you're going with them over potentially a couple of hot hands.
Well, I think you gotta when it comes time to make your picks, you gotta take both things into consideration. You wait and see who qualifies, because sometimes you need, if you have a lot of people who don't have a lot of Ryder Cup experience, you need to add experience. If you don't need to add experience, then you have the freedom to look for the hot hand. I've been disappointed this year in Cam Young. I thought coming into this year that he was going to have a breakthrough season. This is the first major in which he's made any kind of noise at all. And you got to look, maybe between now and Ryder Cup, he starts to show more of the form that he had and is more of a hot hand. But I think that if you get to where you've got a lot of experience on the team already, then when you go to your captain's picks, you have that freedom to look for, okay, who's playing really well right now.
How much does the remainder of the golf season impact your Ryder Cup? If it's between what they do in the FedEx Cup or what they do in the Open Championship, where would you lean if you were a Ryder Cup captain?
Well, I would go with let's see how the FedEx Cup plays out. I mean, those are big events and they're pressure-packed events, and I would really look at that to see who's on a roll right now. If I'm looking for the hot hand, I'm going to keep an eye on those events. But the last time the United States won on European soil was the first Ryder Cup, I believe, I went to, 1993 at the Belfry. Other than that, the United States has not won a cup on the other side of the pond.
Tom Watson captain, I believe, and I think Davis Love III got the decisive putt.
That was a Tom Watson captaincy where he famously at the players' dinner the night before the competition started, European players came up with their programs to the American players and asked for autographs, and Tom Watson wouldn't let his players sign the autograph, saying, we're trying to beat them. We're not here to do friendly things with them. That didn't play out well for Tom.
All right, Rory. He's got to live, and he played well in 3 of the 4 majors, and he's played well this year. But 9 years and counting when next year starts, and he'll be in his mid-30s. And Ron, at the end of the day, he still can't putt.
No, he can't putt, and the other thing too is when you watch him now, even when he's playing really well, aren't you sitting there just waiting for the mistake to happen? I mean, you just sort of feel he keeps taking us down this road. He's playing well. He's making a move. He's making birdies. He's making a charge up the leaderboard. and then he does something blockheaded. And a lot of times it's with a scoring club in his hand, missing greens with wedges, and the not being able to putt. And that's it's 9 years now. That's a long time, and I don't know how he turns it around. I thought that the whole live thing recharged his batteries, and I thought he was. I mean, he had a chance to win every major last year, and he's actually for the last 2 years he's had a chance, and that's the most frustrating part, I think, of what's going on here. It's not like he's playing himself completely out of contention. He's in the hunt and not able to get the job done. And for a guy who had 4 majors by the age of 25, that's mind-boggling.
No, and Ron, I'm right there with you, because when you watch him, I'm with you on both things that you said. I'm waiting for the disaster to happen, and at the same time, I can't be foolish enough to ask a question is, will Rory ever win another major? Because as you've said, this is now 7 of 8 that he's played good golf, but he can't get out of his own way, it seems, Ron.
Yeah, and you do need to be able to. I mean, look, you go back to when Tiger Woods was Tiger Woods, was the full Tiger Woods. The putter was the great eraser for any mistake that he made, and Rory doesn't have that eraser in his bag. Tiger could play aggressive golf because he knew if he short-sided himself. And he could, the best he could do was chip at the 10 feet. He was going to make that 10-foot par putt. I never saw any great golfer make as many 10-foot par putts as Tiger Woods. And that putter erased all of his mistakes. Rory doesn't have that comfort.
Ron, we got about 30 seconds here. You optimistic about the future of golf, the PGA, LIV, this alliance? Yes or no?
Well, I still feel that there's more that we don't know than we do know about it. We're hearing conflicting things about what next year is going to look like. Do the DP World Tour, PGA Tour, and LIV all exist next year? Do some of them exist? And what happens? We don't even know what this new entity is going to be called. I would be surprised if anything is different next year. I think we're still going to be tied up with regulatory agencies, and then probably eventually back in the courts again. But there's still more that we don't know than we do know about what this merger is all about.
Ron, as always, thanks for your time and your insight. Take care of yourself. We'll talk again before the Ryder Cup. Ron Sirak talking golf. Steve Carney talking Rays next.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again,
Yeah, hi.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right. Play Ryder Cup captain. Scheffler, Wyndham Clark, Brian Harman, Brooks Koepka, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay right now are your automatics. Homa is just out at 7. Let's assume he's going to pick Homa. Cam Young's 8. I don't know if he's going to take Cam Young. I think he'll take Spieth, who's 9th.
Definitely.
Okay, so that's 8. 8 of the top 9 for sure. Keegan Bradley?
I'd take Cam Young before I take Keegan Bradley.
Colin Morikawa, who's really struggled. Ricky Fowler.
Yes.
Ricky doesn't make putts, though.
Doesn't the Ryder Cup.
Okay. So you're going Ricky, so that's 9. Sam Burns, Justin Thomas, and then we're getting to Denny McCarthy, Kurt Kitayama, Zalatoris, who can't play. Finau's 19th. Now, we haven't mentioned, don't you have to put DJ on the team? Who is not exactly tearing the world on fire.
No, he's not. I don't think he will.
But, Finau, if you're Justin Thomas, Tony Finau, Dustin Johnson, none of you
Johnson before I take Finau.
Exactly. Right. But Chris Kirk, Thigala, Adam Schenk, Taylor Moore, Tom Hoagie. We don't have anybody who I'm confident of making putts. He's going to take Keegan Bradley, in my opinion. So that would be 9 of the top 10 with Cam Young on the fence. You think he takes Ricky? I agree with you. That's 10. We think he takes DJ. That's 11. So do we think this comes down to Justin?
I don't know if he takes DJ. I don't know if he does.
Oh, he's a moron if he doesn't. This could come down to Cam Young or Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas doesn't qualify right now for the FedEx Cup playoffs. He's 75th. Isn't it top 70?
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. You're going to put a guy on the Ryder Cup team who's not even eligible for the FedEx Cup?
Right, because they changed that, right? It's not 125 anymore. It's
right. Coach Grizzle, LIV guys are eligible for the U.S. team. They're not eligible for the European team. And right now, Koepka's automatic qualifier is 4th.
Wow, a good catch. What a catch.
Steve's on hold.
Spieth can make putts. The best thing JT has going for him is his partnership with Spieth. I got to admit, the U.S. Ryder Cup captain this year, he actually has a job. This one ain't easy. think first time in Mark Miller's lifetime, the U.S. Ryder Cup captains actually got to make some decisions.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, on this Monday, we're to our 8 o'clock hour. Final hour in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. We're just halfway home in the 239, Miller and Moulton. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Steve Carney, kind enough to join us once again. stpete9.com, St. Pete 9, that's 9 spelled out, .com. Also hosts the Under the Orange Roof podcast about the Rays. You can follow Steve on Twitter at Steve Carney, Carney. Steve, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. I was going to ask you how your weekend was, but, well, you watched the Rays lose 3 out of 4. How concerned are you now?
Yeah, this is definitely concerning now, guys. And we've had this conversation before about, what we thought about Baltimore and, could Baltimore make a run? And I had said that I thought that Baltimore was good, but I thought that the Rays would be able to hold them off. Obviously, they shut me up pretty badly. And I look at, a lot of the pieces that the Rays are without aren't the major pieces, but they're the pieces that you need to be successful. And you need to have a lot of depth in order to do so. And that depth has certainly been tested here down the stretch.
Well, Steve, who are the Rays? Are they the team that got off to this great start and had their best ever record at the All-Star break? Or are they close to the team that's played the last 60 games or so where there are a few games under 500? I mean, who is this team right now?
Yeah, right now, this team is a lot closer to the second than it is the first. And I hate saying that. When you've seen what they've done here, they've lost 14 of 18 in the month of July, and you're really starting, and, talking to the fan base, they're hitting the panic button as hard as anybody I've ever seen. I'm used to seeing Yankees and Red Sox fans hit panic buttons as hard, not Rays fans. And that's certainly concerning. And if I'm a part of the front office, I think that really the impetus is now squarely on the shoulders of Eric Neander and Peter Bendix to try and figure out how they can fix this so they have a decent shot of a deep playoff run. Because after the start they got off to, I think everybody thought that they were going to be just put them in ink for the World Series, and now there's a huge concern going forward.
Steve Carney, stpete9.com, Under the Orange Roof podcast. Follow him on Twitter, Steve Carney, Carney. Steve, there's many areas of concern. Something happened in this series that I don't believe we've seen happen very often in the last 15 years. When the Rays are good, nobody outrays the Rays. The Rays tie game in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, they win those games. First game of the series, 3-3 in the 8th. They lose 4-3 in 10. Third game of the series, they come back from 5-0 down. 5-5 going to the 9th at home. Lose. Yesterday, rally from 3-0 down. 3-3 going to the 6th. Lose. The Orioles outraid the Rays. That's what would have me going nuts if I'm the Rays front office.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're doing it in ways that the Rays don't operate. The Rays don't sacrifice bunt. And you saw in Thursday's game and in Saturday's game, you saw sacrifice bunt from the right players in the right spot in order to get the right people up. I'm talking to a lot of people in the fan base, especially in Thursday's extra innings game, wondering why there was no sacrifice bunt after Luke Raley had reached in the bottom of the 10th inning to put runners at first and second. And I had to remind them that was Randy Arozarena that was up, who has a grand total of 0 sacrifice bunts in his major league career and is not paid to sacrifice bunt. He's paid to put the ball in the air. Unfortunately, he had maybe the worst game I've ever seen him have on Thursday. He went 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts and grounding into a 5-4-3 double play. And then Brandon Lau grounded into a double play to end the game. But, they were doing things, and you're right that they outraised the Rays, but they also found themselves in the right situations and with the right players up in the right situations.
What is it, Steve? We've been bantering about this for a while, but have you changed at all of what they need? I put, I guess I hit it. I thought the over-under for runs for the weekend with the Rays would be about 14. They end up scoring 14 runs. It only gets them 1 win. I still, I know they need bullpen help, but they need a bat. The problem to me is who's sacrificed for it. What do you think they need right now, Steve?
Well, with the injury to Francisco Mejia, I think the impetus has to be on trying to go and get a catcher. I think that getting a veteran presence as well, being around the team this weekend, they're playing as tight as I've ever seen. When they were in at the beginning of the season, they were all playing loose. It was a real easy feeling in the clubhouse, and that is certainly not the case right now. I would love to see them go out and get a veteran catcher to try and staunch the bleeding. I know that Salvador Perez is a name that this fan base has certainly said, hey, go and get Salvador Perez. I think there's a big problem with going and getting Salvador Perez because he's a 10-5 guy, so he's a full no trade clause and has to approve any team that he gets traded to. But I think that you're not looking for something as expensive as Salvador Perez. The name that I came up with was John Gomes, who's with the Chicago Cubs. 36, has deep playoff experience. The Cubs have a young catcher that they want to see play every day, and so I think would be more willing to move Gomes. Plus, he's got a $6 million option for next year with only a $1 million buyout. So it's not a straight rental. If you want to hold on to Gomes, you can always pick up his option for next year. And I think you could do something where you could package Gomes and an arm and not have to give up an arm and a leg to get both of those pieces.
All right. The teams that we're pretty sure are going to sell, the Mets, the White Sox, Tim Anderson's name keeps coming up. I don't know if but how about Grandal? Okay. With the White Sox, who struggled this year, although he had a pretty decent last week. I mean, I'm curious if you're the Rays, who's the first team that is selling that have the parts that may interest you most?
Yeah, for me, I still think it's Cubs. And although I think the Mets are another piece, I would love to see them go out and see if they could grab David Robertson, who was with the Rays a couple of years ago, and see if they could bring him back on the bullpen side. But really, if I'm the front office, I'm looking at Marcus Stroman and I'm looking at Yan Gomes with the Chicago Cubs, and I'm trying to figure out a way that I can bring both of them in for the stretch run here in Tampa Bay.
Then I know the catcher position notwithstanding, you're pretty comfortable with the bats? You think that they've got enough, or is it just that an area not as big of need as others?
I think the catching, especially with Francisco Mejia's injury, I think Christian Bethancourt is fine, but you're going to need someone to play. He's not going to play every day, and I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Rene Pinto, who they have brought up to replace Mejia. And Mejia's going to be gone anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks because of his sprained MCL. So the catcher position is far and away, I think, the most important position that they need. And then if you can get another bat besides that I think would be okay. But really, the catcher position, I think, is, because of Mejia's injury, really has solidified itself as that's the spot. If I have to take care of anything, and if I can only get one piece, that's the piece I need.
stpete9.com, the Under the Orange Roof podcast, Steve Carney joining us. All right. On the aggressive scale here, if you are the Rays, who have been aggressive at times down the stretch of seasons, Mark made the case on this show earlier, Steve, in which he looks at the American League and he sees the NFC in football, a wide open conference, not a lot of greatness. He would be aggressive. He thinks the American League, if you get in it, you can win it. So he would be aggressive if he were the Rays. And we know what that means. That means giving up some names that 3 years from now, you're going to go, oh, wow. Steve, how aggressive, if you're the Rays, are you going to be?
You know, if you're making the right moves, I don't think I think you can be aggressive and not have to give up some of those names. I know that Mark would say, okay, any sort of move you make would cost this team a Curtis Mead, a Kyle Manzardo, a Kyle Wilcox, maybe even a Junior Caminero, who's their number one prospect, and I personally think should be untouchable. But I think that you can go out and get, like it's, and I'm going to use my Marcus Stroman, Yan Gomes trade with the Chicago Cubs. I think you can make that trade, and probably the biggest piece you have to give up is Jonathan Aranda. So that I think it would be good, especially because the team already has 2 open 40-man spots, so you're not going to have to designate anybody else for assignment when you bring up Andrew Kittredge from the 60-day IL, because that's another piece you're going to get back here very soon, because he's in AAA, really ramping up his rehab, and I would expect you'll see him before the end of the month as well.
You still feel confident the Rays are going to make the playoffs? I mean, they're the 4 seed right now, but they're within a handful of games of not being in the playoffs. You still confident they're a playoff team?
Yeah, I have to stay confident that this is going to be a playoff team, and if they make the moves that we think that they're going to make, I think that they've got a good shot at making a run at this, because I really do think that once you get to the playoffs, that's where Randy Arozarena really excels, and I think that this team can jump on his back, much like Mexico did in the World Baseball Classic, and he'll say, "Jump on my back and let's go win this thing." And I think that they can really make a big run at that, especially if they make the moves that we all think that they can make, because they have the depth in order to do so.
Steve, as always, appreciate your time and your insight. Enjoy the rest of your off day before the Rays and Marlins get things going tomorrow, okay?
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
Steve Carney, St. Pete 9, that's 9 spelled out, stpete9.com. Also, Under the Orange Roof is the podcast. Listen to it if you are into the Rays. Last time he was on the show, we asked him about Brandon Lau. We said, you sticking with him? He said, absolutely. He used our conversation in a tweet, and he sent it out to generate a discussion. Steve's been we didn't give him grief. He's been taking so much grief from Rays Nation, who's done with Brandon Lau. And we've been lumped in on the Twitter war, if you will. I thought Steve was going to hold it against us. He just used us.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I don't think the Astros will choke, Grizzle. I think there's a better chance of them winning that division. I think I have a record going on right now, David.
What's that?
I haven't had a drink in 16 days. I think that could be the longest stance I've taken since I've turned 21.
Huh.
Yeah, he's bald, KW. Bald. He's like that Seinfeld episode when the guy thinks he could grow it back, but he can't. That's the plan, Hops. 30 days is August 7th. David, we have had a couple of little snafus here. Are you even there? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It just went away. StreamYard just went away for about a minute.
Oh. It's funny. I heard you the whole time.
Felipe, what do you have tomorrow at 10 o'clock? Can someone come in and cut spots?
Yeah.
Okay.
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Scott Jackson, he covers the Commanders. His long national nightmare is over. He will join us coming up in a little more than 15 minutes' time. Did you see the NFL news that came out late last week? We weren't on the air Friday. And the Packers every year, Mark, have to make news.
Right. They release their financials. They're a publicly traded company, so we can find out what their revenue is.
Right. Did you see what their revenue is?
I did.
And the players got to see what the revenue is also, and the agents and all that. So what are we talking about here? Over 600 million, right?
Yeah, it was like 617. Isn't that the number? Something like that.
And here's the big number, because not everybody generates the same revenue, but there is one component to the revenue that is the same. It's the national revenue. Basically, TV money coming from the league, etc. The Packers, and therefore the other 31 teams, received $374.4 million from the NFL. 374.4. Anybody remember offhand what the cap is? It's 248. Mark, that's $126 million difference right there. That's if you don't make another dime.
Well, that's revenue. There are costs associated with the league. They don't just do this off. Do they do this just off of revenue with the salary cap?
Yes, the salary cap. It's the problem is it's not all revenue.
Right.
Like sweet money doesn't count. The players don't get a dime of that, and there's other things they don't get a dime of. And I understand it costs money to run a team. Coaches' salaries, scouting, I understand, notepads, pens, I understand it adds up.
Notepads and pens, huh?
Right.
Just your general office supplies.
That's a big right.
line item.
Yeah. Right. Mark, some organizations have more meetings than others. They take more notes, they hire more staff, etc. But I'm just pointing out, before they sell a ticket, okay, before they sell a suite, a sponsorship, and what have you, from the league, they're getting basically $375. They're $126 million to the good before they bring in their own revenue.
Right.
So that's all. I'm just saying they're doing pretty well.
Andrew Brandt was funny on Twitter. He put out something to the effect of, I hated this day when I worked at the Packers because it was constant agents calling me, telling me how I could spend that extra revenue that we had.
By the way, if you just do a little math, if you take 374.4 million and you times it by 32, the number of teams in the league, that means that the NFL doled out $11.98 billion. The money they gave back to their teams is more revenue than any other major professional sports league in America that they generate all year. Baseball is like just under that. Right.
I will be curious what baseball revenue does going forward, given the fact that their TV deals locally are all in a tizzy. How do they keep those revenues up at the level that they're at right now with what seems to be a problem in the revenue stream, if you know what I mean? You know, we
And
just
you
had
and I-
Arizona have to start, or Major League Baseball take Arizona's team over. I'm just curious how that's going to look for baseball down the road.
It will be an interesting 3 to 5 years where, as we talk about with Seth a few times, that, how long will baseball have to subsidize these teams? And will the half of the league that's subsidizing the other half that's losing their regional cable deal, it's going to be like, how long are we supposed to be paying for this? And do we get paid back? Why should we have to pay for, their regional cable? Our regional cable's fine. And so that'll be interesting. Many people, though, believe give it 5 to 7 years, baseball will be doing better. They'll actually make more money, but they're going to have to do it via streaming. But let's be honest, Mark, if your team's decent, and we know the hardcore baseball fan, they'll watch their Tigers lose 105 games. They're a Tigers fan. That's what they do. They watch the Tigers. They hope they're good. If they suck, they watch them anyway. But, it will be, if your team has a pulse, imagine what they would be doing in Cincinnati right now if they had to pay for the Reds. What wouldn't you be paying if you were a Reds fan right now? $10 a month. Done.
As we've pointed out, these are the number 1 or number 2 watched programs in every market they're in. Every night. Right? For 6 months.
I thought of something, just speaking of the Reds. First off, hats off to you. The Reds, you pointed out when they first got hot this year, you said, we got to keep the second place team in the NL Central alive in the wild card race. I went, come on. Division's terrible. You went, actually, because it's terrible, I'm telling you. And you're right now. The Reds would be the 4 seed. They'd actually host the best of 3 in the National League against either the Giants or the Diamondbacks. Number 1. But also, I just realized yesterday, this De La Cruz guy, isn't he number 44? Isn't that his number?
Okay.
That was Eric Davis's number. How could Eric Davis's number not have been taken out of commission in Cincinnati? That's a proud franchise. He's their second best player the last 40 years? Larkin, their first? Would you put Joey Votto ahead of him? He's one of their 3 best players since the Big Red Machine era. He's got to be. He's one of their 3 best players. Votto, Larkin, Davis. Put them in whatever order you want. I was just surprised that number's still.
If I've got this right, it had kind of been put on the shelf. No one was wearing 44.
Right.
Until this guy.
Well, gave it to the right guy, I guess.
So that's the way I read that quickly. But no, it is not retired. So you are right that they're both, that is 44.
Now, listen, the Yankees, I think, because both Elston Howard and Yogi wore 8. So they retired that number twice. And who knows, maybe they'll do that one day in Cincinnati. But I just, I watched him hit another homer over the weekend, and I thought, oh my God, he's wearing 44.
And they are still hanging around in the NL Central. And as David pointed out, they're a wild card team right now. The Marlins are not.
Neither are the Phillies. 3 teams from the West, 2 from the Central. Only 1 from the supposed big bad NL East.
And the Mets and Padres aren't even thought about. That's how badly it's gone for those 2 high payroll teams.
Hell, the Cubs have a better record than both those teams.
We'll go to the nation's capital. They are very, very happy. We'll find out just how excited they are next on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Couple of pounds. That's the reason I'm doing it. It's not because I don't love alcohol, because I do love it. I like beer. I like bourbon. I like vodka. I like gin. I like wine. There's not much I don't agree with when it comes to booze, but I need to lose some weight. Then I've got Moulton over there. When's the last time you had a drink?
Gotta be when I was in Fort Myers. So I was in town for a couple days. The second night I was in town, I had a couple drinks. So it's been 10, 11 days. But yeah, I mean, we don't have any booze. You know, we haven't had booze in the house in 20 years. So I have to go out to drink. And of course, I never drink much when I go out because I'm always worried about a DUI. So, and I never have more than 2 drinks. 3 if I'm going to stay at least 2 hours and eat. That's the most I ever drink out. Coach Gristle, the Braves are better than everybody. We've been saying that all year. We even said it when the Rays were 30-6.
This is great. They've got a best quarterback wide receiver combination in the AL East. It's got Allen Diggs, Rodgers, and Wilson. No one's even going to bother to put, Greeny's going to put up a jet.
They're not even talking Tua and Tyreek.
Right.
Wow.
Scott's on hold. We're back in 45. Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Thanks so much for being with us. 22 minutes before the hour. Final segment in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. The bonus hour begins at the top of the hour for those in the 239. We are Miller and Moulton. This is the Florida Sports Network. His long national nightmare is over. Forget being part of the Commanders Radio Network. Forget being a longtime DC sports radio host. Scott Jackson is a longtime resident of DC and the greater surrounding area. You can follow him on Twitter at Jackson Sports, blah, blah, blah. Scott, it's David and Mark. At first, we're talking to Scott, the guy, the resident, the middle-aged sports fan. How much better is your life today?
Wow. I just think yesterday I was sitting reading what the latest statement from the owner, the new ownership group, Josh Harris. I was just thinking about how really since Thursday, how this group has just done everything the previous owner did not do for 2.5 decades. Practically, it's just incredible the amount of communication, the honesty, transparency, those kind of things. And look, none of it guarantees they're going to win anything, but it just makes you feel better about the kind of person that is going to be the face of your franchise. He's actually going to be a face of the franchise. He's going to be hiding in the shadows and, coming up, in congressional hearings and those kind of things. You hope these aren't the things that'll be the story of the franchise anymore. It'll just be about whether they win or lose and what they got to do to get better and hopefully get back to the level that Josh Harris, like a lot of us, like me, and many others remember the franchise to be. But, obviously we have so many fans that have no idea. It's like we're speaking in a different language to them. We tell them about the good years, the glory years, the great years of Joe Gibbs. And even before that with George Allen had some good, really quality seasons. And, Vince Lombardi really turned the thing around. But, a lot of our fans have not ever had a real taste of anything except just scandal and stupidity for the most part.
How long does the goodwill last, however, though? I mean, because as you mentioned, now it just comes down to wins and losses. And, well, no matter what, if you lose, people get angry. So how long does the goodwill last? Till about the first week in September?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I think he gets a year. I mean, for me, unless, again, if they're doing dumb things, are they suing grandma for season tickets like the previous guy did early in his tenure? I doubt it. I mean, is FedEx Field going to get in worse condition with the money they've committed to it between now and opening day? I don't think so. I think they're actually trying to improve a stadium that's really been a bad stadium from day one, and that was prior to Snyder taking over the team. I mean, the Kent Cooks rushed it up, unfortunately, and it was antiquated from day one. But yeah, I think you got to give them a year. Look, they're coming in this thing late. I mean, yeah, it's cool. There'll be a training camp next week or this week now, excuse me. But there's not much you can do. I mean, you can't make a coaching change. You can't, totally retool your front office. I think it'll be fascinating to see if they do put some eyes and ears in that front office to kind of see. Because remember, this is a Ron Rivera franchise right now. He's had every hire. I mean, he's made every move outside of Jason Wright has been his hire here. So this is all his molding, and it's been quite mediocre, quite frankly, for 3+ years. So this is a huge year for him and his staff to show that they should be part of the change here.
And it is interesting that he decided, I mean, before the ownership change, that we're going to stick it out with Sam Howell, a 5th-round pick out of North Carolina. He got one start against the Cowboys team that mailed it in because they knew 3 seconds after kickoff they had nothing to play for. And I'm just curious what the fan base thinks about the decision as to where to go at quarterback. There were some veterans that were available that they said, nope, we're good. We're going with the kid.
Yeah, I also think some of that was predetermined too, and we won't know, and maybe we will soon enough. I mean, they're a very chatty group. The coaching staff was that predetermined for them. Now they probably don't want to get that out in the atmosphere, but just because of the restrictions, I mean, clearly they did nothing. I mean, outside of Deron Payne, a free agency, they were shopping the bargain basement, right? They spent a little bit of money on Wiley, but a lot of that was this guy's out the door. Why is he going to pay any money for anything? Quite frankly, any quarterback with options probably doesn't want to come here with a coach that's lame duck, and the whole situation that was going on here. I don't really think it was a great market for quarterbacks. I mean, really, they're lucky they didn't step in the landmine that's Jimmy G with the health situation there. And again, if you're somebody that's looking for stability, I mean, and to recapture your career, this probably wasn't the best move. I mean, I think they actually were fortunate to get Brissett. After Heineke went to Atlanta, because they wanted to keep Heineke as the backup here. So I just don't know what the options were. And they've swung badly and missed, obviously, quarterbacks these last couple off seasons. Couldn't get Russell Wilson to be interested. And obviously, with a panic move going with Wentz, even though everybody told you that was a terrible idea, they still did it. So, Fitzpatrick before that was kind of out of their hands. He got hurt in the first game, first half of the first game, so they never really got to see if they could do anything with him. But just a lot of those things, I think, you kind of forced their hand with Howell, and the idea that, hey, if you have Howell in this rookie deal and he's anything, then great. Then you can kind of a self-preservation move too, right? Because, that was Rivera's draft pick. And if he shows anything that you can say, so I got you guys your quarterback of the future potentially, and he's on a rookie contract for at least a couple more seasons.
How's the rest of the roster?
Well, the defense is pretty good, needless to say, but it can be better. It's a weird defense in the sense that they really don't. Here you give a head coach as a linebacker, a D coordinator as a linebacker. They barely play linebackers, right? They have like maybe one linebacker on the field at a time, maybe two tops in their base, but they really are not running what you would get. A lot of Buffalo, a lot of guys in the secondary. They're hybrid players or safeties, and can also play inside, outside, and then you have. They have added some talent there, I think. I think that's going to help. They need to get takeaways. I think defensively, they're going to have to carry this offense for a while. But, the offense is good pieces. The first two receivers are, McLaurin's excellent. I think Dodson showed you that you should be really excited about him in year one when he was on the field. Curtis Samuel's still kind of been a little frustrating here, even though he played a lot more last year. Still not really an explosive player that you thought he might be when you brought him over from Carolina. But really was never that player there either, which is always fascinating about a guy who runs such a good 40 time. But, certainly a valuable weapon. Gibson's good. Robinson's good in the backfield. So I think they have some solid backs. The tight ends are kind of a question outside of Logan Thomas. And again, he has to stay on the field. And the offensive line's the big thing. But I think it's not a terrible roster. I don't think this is a team that's going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes like some people have mentioned. That's probably the problem, though. They're kind of, as we dealt with here with our NBA team, kind of in the midst. They're not bad enough to get you that top pick, but they're not good enough to be a real playoff contender or a championship contender. I kind of feel like that's where the Commanders have kind of gotten this mix now where there's kind of in the middle. They got enough good things about them, but the margins for error each Sunday are just so super thin. And frankly, this staff has not come off as the most, they're not playing, three-dimensional chess on people. They're playing more old-school checkers a lot of times.
He's Scott Jackson, longtime sports radio host in D.C., part of the Commanders Radio Network. Follow him on Twitter, Jackson Sports, Jackson Sports. So Magic, in an interview that was released on Friday, said, yeah, we're changing the name. Not this year, but we'll probably get to that in 2024. A, your reaction, and B, did the name go over that badly?
Yeah, the name went over badly. I don't really think Magic said that, actually. I would disagree with you. I think he said, we'll think of, that's something that we could think about. And I think that's the same thing Josh Harris said. Doesn't mean they're going to do it. But here's the problem. No matter what you do, you're going to, again, fracture the fan base on that, right? It's already been done. And this grandiose, old school fan, and a lot of these guys are my age group, and women that think they're bringing back Redskins need to get over it. It's over. It's not coming back. I mean, they're not going to do that. The NFL is not going to allow that. FedEx was going to take away their naming rights. They lost sponsorships over all of that. So, it's not happening. So that's the problem, because that's really what at the core of that conversation is. That yes, there are some women in our fan base that think just get rid of Commanders because it was Dan's idea, which it probably was. It seems something that he thought was great. So that's fine. But then again, what's the next name? Is it Red Wolves, which really makes no sense? Or is it, Red Tails? Or, just keep Red in it. And then you get the whole thing with, are you really changing anything? Warriors was brought up years ago, but they never moved on it quick enough. And then the Golden State Warriors became great. I don't know if that's really going to happen or not. To be honest with you, I kind of felt like they were in the space with all the options that were out there. They should have stuck with Washington football and run with it. But they didn't do that. They made the switch. They put all this time and effort in it. And again, it's not Josh Harris' fault, but with the league, this is a long process, an expensive process too. I think you wear it for a year. If you start winning, I think people will get over some of their issues with it. But if you don't, then I guess it's something you can look into. They could look into it and come back and say, no, it's not worth it, and we're just not going to be able to please everybody, because there's really no consensus name that everybody agrees upon. The majority would say Redskins, and obviously that's not happening.
Yeah, I'm with you. And to change it again, I just don't think, of all the things Harris has to worry about to make sure he keeps this goodwill, I don't know if a name change is the right thing. Outside of doing something stupid, I read an article, now he has to win the fan base back. Hasn't he already won the fan base back? Isn't it what you said before, Scott? Just don't do anything stupid this year?
Yeah, he is. He did have to win the fan base. Yeah, look, will they come back? I think week one will be interesting. I would suspect that it's going to be capacity for once with mostly Washington fans. They're playing Arizona. It was like the NFL game a layup. It's not one of these fan bases that comes in and takes over your stadium. If the Eagles or somebody, I've been worried. But, so I think, I don't buy that. He doesn't have to win back the fan bases. He has to get, he's got it back now. He's got to keep it. That's all. Just, again, make the right steps. And like I said, it doesn't mean he's going to be a great owner. But, unlike a lot of guys that come into this job, he's actually got professional sports experience. And the Sixers, you can say, well, they're kind of stuck now, but they're stuck at a pretty high level. As somebody who watches Washington Wizards basketball, I'd like to be where the Sixers are right now for a few years and see how that feels to win 50-plus games and, lose in the semifinals. But, I think certainly he's got the base. He just, again, don't do anything stupid to turn him on you.
Finally, for me, the stadium issue. What is it? Do the fan base, do they want to go back to the RFK site? Is there a state or an outlying area that actually makes more sense? That has to get done more so than a name change. Where is it that people want the games played?
Well, I think the majority of fans still want it in D.C. Where, again, if you notice Josh Harris, he keeps saying the city, he keeps saying the district. He doesn't say the DMV like a lot of people do around here. Which incorporates all three areas. Now, they obviously practice in Virginia, and they also play in Maryland. There's nothing about the franchise right now that's DC except the name, which has been very weird. Not that PG County's far from the district line, but still, they've already had inroads started for them prior to them taking over. On a federal level, if that links, it's federal land. You've already seen some of that stuff being drawn up. Whether or not they could do the scale, what they want to do in the RFK sites is up to debate, I suppose. But that is the target. That's what they want to do. I don't think you spend $6.05 billion to move the team to Woodbridge, Virginia, in a few years. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And again, from guys from, inside the Beltway at Chevy Chase, he's not thinking small. He's thinking big. And the team's never going to be more valuable than it is if it plays within the within those confines of the city.
Scott, as always, appreciate your time, your insight. Well, best of luck, just professionally and personally. Breath of fresh air, the Commanders, and they'll get off to a 1-0 start. We'll see where it goes from there.
They better. Good talking to you guys. Thanks.
Scott Jackson, kind enough to join us once again. Follow him on Twitter at Jackson Sports. Jackson Sports.
Yeah, they are playing the team that's going to be on the clock.
Yes, absolutely. 3.5 over under. If I put that, and I think Arizona's over under is like one more than that, but if I put it at 3.5, would you still go under?
That's so hard, but yes. That's difficult to go under 3.5, but I would take my shot.
I mean, remember the Bears last year. You and I were both pounding the table. We thought the Bears or Texans were going to be on the clock, and the Bears at one point was 3-4. And, you know, we even heard from a few Bears fans. So are you saying they're going to lose the rest of their games? And we thought, well, no, they'll probably sneak out a win or two. Turns out they lost the rest of their games. But training camps are underway. 31 teams report by tomorrow. Steelers report Wednesday. Everybody's going to work.
And then we just start reporting the only relevant thing that happens in training camp, and unfortunately, that is the injuries.
And the Bills apparently suffered one.
Yeah.
Naheem Hines tore up his knee. He's done for the year.
That's not the start you want of training camp.
No.
Clearly was not at the facility either.
Nope. But I think the same thing happened with the Giants starting linebacker, Gerard Davis. Yep. It's the only thing we keep track of here till Labor Day weekend. Then we announce who got cut, who got picked up. So if you want to get all excited, helmets and shoulder pads, that's fine. I'm not going to hold it against you.
And we get it. You've been waiting a long time to get excited about helmets and shoulder pads. But the fact of the matter is what counts right now are the injuries. And the Bills have already suffered one. And training camp hasn't even really opened yet.
Our poll question, the Tennessee Titans are bringing back the Houston Oilers jerseys for throwbacks. And we ask you, who should have the rights to the jerseys, the team or the old city? That's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte. We'll talk tomorrow. Bonus hour next.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I'm looking at a beef and cheddar sandwich on television right now, and it nearly makes me want to vomit. And I used to love a beef and cheddar sandwich.
Oh, wow. Makes me want to go out and get 2. 2 for $7, I think. Wow. Why is that?
Why does it make me want to vomit?
Yeah, it's
That
roast beef. It's cheese.
fake cheese sauce.
I mean, it's not ideal. I'd rather a couple of nice slices of American or cheddar, but yeah.
One minute.
Do you have anything? Because I have my first outrageous prediction of the football season.
RCB, because Cleveland retained the name of the Browns, the Oilers' name went with the Tennessee Titans. The Browns are the only franchise that kept their name when the actual franchise moved.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Bonus hour, Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Magic numbers 33, 38, and 45. I threw another one in there today, too. By Wednesday, 2 days from now, all 32 teams will have every one of their players under contract in training camp. Tomorrow's a big report day around the NFL. I think over half the teams have their veterans show up tomorrow. And then the Steelers are the holdout, and everybody shows up Wednesday. So 2, 33, 38, 45. Those are your magic numbers in football. Hey, I got a theory.
A theory?
I do. I have a theory.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I'll even make it a prediction. Crazy bat blank prediction from me. We'll put it on the board, and we'll see if it happens. So hear me out. So the Patriots are going to finish in last place. And their roster is not that great. And so I think Robert Kraft is going to be like, Bill, come on, man. Tom's been gone 4 years now. I mean, we couldn't put a good team together. And I don't know how good we look for next year either. So, Bill, I think I want to make some changes. And Bill goes, Bob, I'm running the show here.
If I could have kept Garoppolo, we wouldn't be in this problem, Bob. The last time you messed around with my team, you screwed it all up.
Right. That's your argument, huh? If you had just allowed me to keep Jimmy G, instead you forced this Tom Brady guy on me for another 2.5 years. What the hell was I supposed to do with him? So I'm thinking that Bill may not win the argument with Bob, but he's under contract and he'll be within 20 or so wins of Shula and, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Ron Rivera is going to finish 3rd or 4th in Washington. They're not going to win probably more than 8 games. New owner, magic in his ear. I mean, that's almost like Isaiah Thomas and Matt Ishbia's ear. I mean, you really think Magic doesn't want to come in and make changes? Whenever Magic's been close to getting his fingers on a franchise as coach or GM or owner, Magic wants to get rid of half the staff. So, Kraft's going to be unhappy with Belichick. He's not going to have the guts to fire him, but he's going to threaten to take personnel away from him. Washington's going to fire Ron Rivera within 48 hours of the season ending. Rivera is operating as essentially GM and coach right now in Washington. Josh Harris calls up Bob Kraft and says, listen, back in the day, like nearly 55 years ago, we brought this guy named Lombardi in and made him Grand Poobah of the franchise to turn it around. And he actually began the turnaround until he got cancer and died before year 2. But he was credited with turning them around, and then George Allen came in, and 2 years later, they're in the Super Bowl. So here we go.
Here we go.
So this is going to be Belichick's last year in New England. They're going to go 7-10. Ron Rivera is going to get fired after going either 7-10 or 8-9. Bill Belichick, it may have to be a trade. They may have to acquire him. Bill Belichick will arrive back in the NFC East in the nation's capital, a la Lombardi 55 years earlier. And he will be Grand Poobah of the franchise to restore it to greatness. And he will pass Shula in the all-time wins list in year 3 in Washington.
You finally did it, didn't you, David? You finally did it. And I applaud you for it. And I'm glad that you did. You've been on this planet a long time. And you'd never, ever tried marijuana. And now that it's legal in the city, you were in the city with Mom, you grabbed some edibles, and this is what happened. And good for you. Everybody should try them.
Okay. So this isn't when you 2 years before everyone else said LeBron's going to Miami. Okay. Did I accuse you of being high?
Should have.
No. No.
I don't see a scenario in which Bob Kraft would get rid of Bill Belichick. I don't. I really don't. I understand how you laid it out, and it's a fun little game to play. And Robert Kraft has said he expects to make the playoffs this year.
Correct.
Robert Kraft is on edibles as well. He and Moulton went to the same place. Probably the chocolate one's the little mint. But that's irrelevant for this discussion. I don't see the scenario. I really don't, David, unless things went really badly for New England, where Belichick, and I mean really badly, I'm talking 4-13 badly, where that would happen.
You really don't think 6-11 could do it? I mean, we went through their schedule. We think they're going to be favored no more than 4 times. Now, that doesn't mean anything. You can still win 9-10 games. They've won 25 games in the 3 years without Brady. They won 7, 8, and 10. They made the playoffs once. They got beat badly in the first round by Buffalo. They're a mediocre team. They're mediocre on paper. Their quarterback's the 4th best in the division. Their roster's the 4th best in the division. All right? There's one guy responsible for the roster. He's also the coach. I mean, if you're Kraft, if you're keeping him beyond this year, don't you have to commit to keeping him till he passes Shula?
That is true. And I think Kraft wants that.
That's 3 more years, though. I mean, if you think about it.
Maybe 4.
Well, after this one, like if they win 7 this year, he's 23 away. He ain't going to win 12 back-to-back years.
Nope.
So if you're Kraft, it means you got to keep him through 2026. You've just had 4 mediocre years in a row. What's telling you that you're not? And Bob Kraft's not young. Bob Kraft doesn't want to be in the 7-10 world. Bob Kraft knows enough to look out at his team and go, we're the 4th best team in our division. The other teams have more talented players than us.
I just don't know how getting rid of the best coach in the game, despite what he's doing as GM, makes you a better football team.
I don't think he wants to get rid of the best coach in the game. I think he wants to get rid of the general manager, who happens to be the coach. And I don't think the coach is going to agree to lose his grip on the franchise. I don't think Bill Belichick is going to answer to somebody else when it comes to personnel. Every single person who works for the Patriots is there because of Bill Belichick. I just don't see, if Kraft wants to tinker at all, I don't see how Bill goes, yeah, okay, I'm good with that. And that's where Josh Harris picks up the phone and says, hey, Bob, if he won't agree to answer to a general manager, call me back.
What would it take to get your hands on a Belichick? Because it would be a trade. This would not happen without draft compensation going to New England.
Well, if I think Washington's going to have a 7 or 8 win season, we're talking about a mid-first round pick. Now, remember, Gruden got traded for a ransom.
Yes.
He went from the Raiders to the Bucs. And that was 20 years ago.
I understand. So more highly thought of coach, even, Gruden was highly thought of then, but not as highly as Belichick's thought of.
But the difference is that the Raiders didn't necessarily, I think, once again, we're playing poker here. You're Kraft, I'm Josh Harris and the Commanders. The fact that you called me tells me that A, Bill's not going to accept answering to a different general manager, and B, you can live with life without Belichick. You don't call me unless there's a part of you that can move forward. I'll give you my first round pick. The question is, how much more are you going to want from me?
Yeah, I'm going to want your next year's first round pick too.
Boy, I don't know if I could do that.
That's what I'd want. That's initially when you brought this up in my head, it would be 2 first-round picks.
I think I'd be willing to do a first. I think I'd be willing to do a 2025 second. And I think I'd be willing to give up, Washington does have some good players. I mean, I think I'd be willing to give up one of the better players on my team in a position of need in New England. Let me talk to your general manager. What position he wants filled. Oh, I'm sorry. Bob, seriously, here, I'll give you Terry McLaurin.
Well, that's what I was thinking. A first, a second, McLaurin.
All right.
If you're not giving me 2 firsts.
Now, of course, the funny thing is that you're acquiring a guy that the other franchise is willing to let go because he hasn't made good enough personnel decisions, and you're going to put him in charge of what? Your personnel. But he is Bill Belichick. I mean, come on now. This is the Rushmore of NFL coaching. All right.
There's no doubt.
It's Lombardi, it's Shula, it's Belichick. We debate who number 4 is. It's probably Hallis. But it could be Landry. It could be Andy Reid, quite frankly. But that's my LeBron to the Heat, Brady to the Bucks. I was first on that. Okay. And everybody thought I was nuts, although they didn't accuse me of smoking anything.
Should have rested on your laurels with that one.
Okay. You're probably right.
Belichick to
Washington
Commanders
in 2024.
Very, very interesting, David. I don't see Robert Kraft ever getting rid of Bill Belichick, but if it keeps going south, well, the GM could get the coach fired. It's happened before. Miller and Moulton. The bonus hour continues right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So this fantasy thing's happening, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't come back if I were you. We'll still do the talent. Don't even bother. You don't need to drive back for one night. I can do that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to drive down. We'd do it together. I'd do the show with you the next morning and drive back, but
I understand, but that's not necessary.
oh, okay.
Unless you really, really want to.
I just, like us being a team.
I got you.
But no,
And I'm all for it, but that's just it's a lot to ask of a teammate.
Well, I mean, I am high after all. Now's the time to do it.
I'll have another banana.
Only one banana, one breakfast bar. Got to admit, this is going to be an awkward couple days. The future mother-in-law for my daughter is in town. And, when she's in town, we like her to have her time with the granddaughter and not have my wife or me be, because we get her more full-time. So usually my wife 3 days a week is watching the granddaughter. Well, 2 of those days are Monday and Tuesday. So my wife has nowhere to be Monday and Tuesday, which means she's going to be here around me.
Huh.
We're not used to being around each other. And, I've got a routine. I have things I have to do. And she's got a to-do list of things that we're going to do. None of those things are on my list. So this is going to be fun. And by fun, I mean stab me in the neck. And I got no Rays tonight, no Marlins tonight, no Mets tonight. Golly. Gonna have to watch her shows. Oh, crap.
Yeah, we've switched over to one of her shows.
Is it any good?
No.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Allergies? You never sneeze. I think you have allergies.
Yeah, I'm allergic to that show.
Don't know how you're going to work that into the conversation. Moulton and I were talking, and I figured something out. I'm allergic to this show. Do we have to watch this?
No, Canada Relief, I'm not.
Although my buddy Bob just texted me and said, "You sure you don't want to watch one of your wife's shows instead of the Mets?" That's a dadgum good point,
That's
Bob.
a good point. Yeah, dead stroke. My son's very excited about that.
So apparently ESPN's trying to put McAfee on the radio.
I've been seeing that this morning. He must be saying no. Is that what's going on?
Or just the fact that his show is a little off color. And do they want it? And they're going to have somebody on the dump button. And
It's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll have a big announcement on the show tomorrow. No, I mean it. We'll have at least one. Hope is to have two. It's not looking that way, but we'll have one tomorrow.
One announcement.
Okay. You would know. The people responsible for making the announcement happen, they at least talk to you.
Well, no. I've taken complete control. I've Al-Hagged this. I'm in charge.
Okay.
And unless I get a very positive phone call in the next hour, we will have one announcement tomorrow.
Okay.
My anticipation is that we'll have one announcement.
All right. There you go. Hot steaming deal. So big announcement on this.
I'm with you. I'm hoping for two. Two would be nice.
Sure. But okay. At least one big announcement on the show tomorrow. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Final thoughts, 15 minutes away. So there.
As David mentioned, training camps all be open basically by tomorrow. Training camps aren't what they were. The Dolphins have 4 or 5 battles for positional spots. Some of them are backups at that.
I will say the Dolphins apparently are going to be the fastest team in the league, at least at offensive skill positions. Between the 40 times that the wide receivers and the running backs have clocked, there will be no team faster than the Dolphins.
And if you're playing Madden, it should work out really well for you. Problem is the game isn't played by Madden rules.
What are you trying to say?
They still have to block for those fast players. And I don't know how good their line is.
Well, even those that are high on the Dolphins don't think it's a good line. They just think it'll be average enough. They think, quite frankly, Mark, it'll be the Bengals from 2 years ago. Those that think the Dolphins are going to make a deep run this year in the AFC think that they will be the Bengals of 2021. That Burrow and those receivers will make it happen. Remember, they won the playoff game against the 1 seed Tennessee, got sacked 9 times. 9 times. And they won. An opportunistic defense, who just managed to get the key stop and, occasional turnover, 4 turnovers in that Titans game. And that's what they even think about this Dolphins defense, that the new defensive coordinator, he's going to work his magic, a la Spagnuolo with the Chiefs. Bada bing, bada boom. They're going to be dangerous on offense. If you don't get to Tua, they're going to slay you. And defensively, they'll make enough happen. I'll tell you what, I am totally intimidated by the AFC. Every time I sit down and look at teams and schedules and where teams are, I go, besides the Chiefs, I'm scared to death to make a pick. I mean, I've already said the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. You know who scares me? The Browns. The Browns have a lot that's good on that team. If Deshaun Watson is 75% of what he was with the Texans, that's a good team. With a hole at defensive tackle. That's about it.
Their defensive line is weak, but they can run the football. I don't know how good their receivers are when it comes to the Browns.
Well, I got Amari.
Right.
But yeah, I probably feel better if they had a better number 2. But they got 4 tight ends. Njoku is if he's got his head together, he's a nightmare. I'm telling you, I think there's only 3 bad teams. There's 4 bad teams in the whole conference. And everybody else, I can sit there and make a case for 10 wins.
Raiders, Patriots, Texans,
Colts. Yeah, that's it. And otherwise, I can make a case. Listen, Sean Payton's first year in New Orleans, everybody forgets because it was a long time ago, was 2006. Sean Payton walked into New Orleans with Drew Brees, who had been pretty good, but never great. And they went to the NFC Championship game his first year. Now, it was a little down year for the NFC that year, and everything broke right, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but you don't think Sean Payton can coach? And if Russell Wilson has one bad year, what if he's Russell Wilson again? I mean, is that out of the question? He was fat last year. He was playing for a coach he clearly had no connection with, never been in that offense before, blah, blah, blah. Sean Payton had an offense for 15 years with a small quarterback. What's Russell Wilson? A small quarterback. He knows how to design plays.
Turned into stars.
Yeah. I mean, they're a year removed from what did everybody say a year ago at this time? Well, that's a playoff roster. They just need a quarterback.
Well, and it was a playoff defense, too. So that defense still should be pretty salty.
I am totally scared. I have freaked myself out on the AFC. I have messed myself up over analyzing the AFC.
Well, I'm going to go with my heart on one thing. I'm going to pick against the Jets because everything in my being this year is against the New York Jets.
And your heart is with Joe Burrow because he's not a Swiftie.
There you go. There you go. And the Miami Dolphins will go deep into the postseason. They will not make the Super Bowl, but they will go deep into the postseason because that's what Miami teams do.
I mean, the Marlins, despite losing 8 of their last 9, are still only a game removed from the playoffs right now. I mean,
and all they got to do is pull the Panthers and sneak in. The Florida Panthers snuck in basically on the last week of the season, made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final. If the Marlins make a playoff run, the world has to start believing in this Miami postseason thing.
If the Marlins make the playoffs, I think you have to buy into the South Florida sports thing going all the way back to mid-March. If they just get in, I don't care if they get in as the 6th and they get swept. If the Marlins are in a playoff series, it's happening. And I'm putting even more money on the Dolphins if I could. I hope they're like 2-2 when the Marlins are in the playoffs. And the odds are still every bit as good. Maybe they've even gotten better. But I'm messed up, and I mean it. I am messed up when it comes to the AFC.
So much so that you're thinking about it more than you should be, I bet.
All the time, actually. I'm thinking about it all the time. Because if I believe that this many teams are good, that means this many good teams are going to miss the playoffs. That's very rarely the case in sports, never mind in the NFL. I'm just going to ask you a simple question. Do you think the Bills are good?
Yes.
Do you think the Jets are good?
Yes.
You're rooting against them, but yes.
Do you
think the Dolphins are good?
I do.
Okay. And we don't think the Patriots are good. Now let's go to the North. Do you think the Bengals are good?
Absolutely.
Do you think the Ravens are good?
Yes.
Do you think the Steelers are good?
Maybe.
Do you think the Browns are good?
As you are.
Okay. And do you think the Browns are good?
Maybe.
Okay. So we got 5 yeses, 2 maybes. Okay. Now the South. Do you think the Jags are good?
I think the Jags are good.
Do you think anybody else in the division is good? Okay. Now we go to the West. Chiefs are good. There's 7. Chargers?
Yep.
That's 8. Denver's a maybe, right?
Denver's a maybe.
So that's 8 yeses and 3 maybes. There's only room for 7. I'm messed up.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on Fifth Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone, on Fifth Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Now, I watched very little of the Open Championship because rounds 1 and 4 for me were travel days and went into the city for round 2. So, I watched a little bit of round 3. Were you okay with Mr. Waggle there?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. He waggles.
He does. He does.
It bothers me just because I could never do it. I'm really fast, and I mean the waggling bothers me personally. I couldn't. I'd hit the ball.
What I'm wondering is, so the amount of time that you have to play, and there's supposedly like so much time you're supposed to take on every shot. So once you address the ball, do they turn the clock off? I mean, because I'm watching him going, well, how is he not a clock violator, if you know what I mean? Not that they ever call it in golf, but.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
The home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll have a big announcement on the show tomorrow. Yes, we think so. A nice announcement at the very least. Scale of 1 to 10, I think it's at least a 7. How about that? It's our story. We're sticking to it. All right. I mean, Mark accused me of being high 30 minutes ago on the show. So, I could tell you one of the announcements tomorrow. That would be I was not high on Monday. Take that, Miller.
Whatever. You just have Belichick going to the Washington Commanders football team.
In 2024, I do. Kraft's going to say, Bill, I'm taking the GM away from you. You're not getting it done. Bill's going to go, yeah, Bob, I don't think so. Josh Harris, who will have fired Ron Rivera already, he'll have an opening for both GM and coach. He'll be like, are you serious? We'll take them off your hands. Magic would love a move like this. It's got Magic Johnson written all over it. The 2 times he's had anything to do with the Lakers, he's been all about doing stuff like this. All right. My bad.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
1847 we start. Brigham Young heads to Salt Lake City, Utah. Scheduled a game with the University of Utah. Utah won 8-6.
Wow. Defensive struggle, huh?
Today in 1860 at the St. George's Cricket Grounds in Philadelphia, the first baseball games played in an enclosed field. The Olympics beat St. George 25-17. 1958, Ted Williams is fined $250 for spitting at Boston fans again.
Remember, final at bat. Hits a home run. All right. They're giving him a standing ovation, wanting to give him a curtain call. He's like, I'm good.
66, the PGA at Firestone, Al Geiberger wins. 67, Don January wins his only major, winning the PGA. 1968, Hoyt Willem pitches in his 907th major league game, breaking Cy Young's record for pitching appearances.
Knuckleballer.
It was today in 78 that Billy Martin resigns as the Yankee manager after the comment that one is a born liar and the other is a convicted one about Steinbrenner and Reggie Jackson.
Reggie was the born liar. George was convicted.
David, today in 1982, we were all a little faster. We were all a little stronger. We were all a little tougher. Because Eye of the Tiger from Rocky III started its 6-week run as number 1 on the charts.
Oh, man.
Put it on now and you might start running, David. Or at least do a push-up.
It was for a movie, good music to have for a workout scene and what have you.
The way you downplay the entire Rocky movie series bothers me.
Well, because after the second one got a little hokey. The first one was a well done movie. It was. That was a good, solid movie. Midway through the second one, they went off the rails and they were never seen and heard from again.
What are we waiting for?
My wife's on your side, by the way. If she was,
of course she
right
is.
now,
She's an American. What are you, some sort of Russian communist?
Oh, goodness sake. So you like the whole speech in the boxing ring after he beats a Russian? Okay, our people and your people, and if we get together, and the Gorbachev look-alike.
It's better two guys beating each other up than 200 million. Today in 83 was the Pine Tar incident. George Brett hits the home run, then ruled out for having too much pine tar on the bat.
I will say, if you see the video today, the absolute anger that Brett is running out of that dugout with towards the umpiring crew. I mean, he loses his mind.
Yes.
He literally has an umpire grabbing him around the waist and holding on to him. Another umpire separating him from, was it Tim McClellan, the home plate umpire? I mean, honestly, McClellan's standing there looking at him like, what the hell is your problem? And Brett wants to kill him.
Well, and they have the great camera angle of watching it. You see him come out of the dugout, arms go over his head, he just explodes. It is something. Today in 92, Faye Vincent reinstates Steinbrenner. And today in 98, Saving Private Ryan is released.
I have never, ever seen a movie and felt more insignificant and worse about myself than Saving Private Ryan. I just feeling just totally not worthy. Like to thank Spielberg for that. I really would.
Amelia Earhart was born today. Those celebrating birthdays today. Bob Lilly's 84. Michael Richards is 74. Steve Grogan is 70. Kevin Butler, 61. Karl Malone is 60. Barry Bonds is 59. Nick Nurse, 56. J-Lo and Rick Fox are 54. The Pouncey twins are 34. Joe Mixon is 27. What did I miss, David?
Apollo 11. After, Neil and Buzz on the moon, they came back today. And remember Lance Armstrong?
Yeah.
He won his 7th Tour de France today in 2005.
Whatever happened to him?
You know what is interesting, though, is that, they did find out that, a whole generation was cheating. It's kind of like baseball. And yet Lance is seen as, I think, more of a jerk and tarnish than Bonds and McGuire and Clemens and Sosa in baseball. Wouldn't you agree with that? That
Yep,
he's
100%.
That he's more of an outcast than those guys are. Why do you think that is?
The way in which he denied it. It was Rafi's finger wag times 10.
Okay.
Because we remember the finger wag. More of all of those cases, we remember Palmeiro and the finger wag.
Right, in this congressional hearing there, yeah.
And Lance's defiance for so long makes him look worse.
And the reason why, to some degree, it surprises me that our angst is so vitriolic towards him as opposed to the baseball players. He did fight off cancer. Yes, and then he cheated as a cyclist. Absolutely. He was doping like crazy, apparently. And apparently the whole sport was, except for Greg LeMond. That's why he quit. But I mean, he did fight back cancer. We're usually somewhat sympathetic to cancer survivors. He raised, it's like LeBron taking a heat for I'm taking my talents to South Beach. He raised $4 million for the Boys and Girls Club that night. Yeah, he was a jerk, but he did raise $4 million for a good cause. I mean, those Live Strong bracelets, how much money did Lance Armstrong, with Nike's help, raise to fight cancer? And we treat this guy like he has never done anything good.
We don't like your charity when you're a fraud. Even though he fought cancer and won, David. I'm just saying.
I know. We've watched it play out. A generation later, and there seems to be no avenue for him where, look at A-Rod, for goodness sakes. Look at A-Rod. He's on 2 networks broadcasting baseball. He cheated like a blankety blank for 10 years. All right.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to North Naples for the good, where the nonprofit Golden Paws has matched more than 150 dogs with recipients. The organization pairs service dogs with wounded vets, first responders, and children with disabilities. In this particular case, they talk about in the story, Commander Sergeant Major Craig Leyland had said he'd gone to a dark place. They hooked him up with a golden retriever named Sergeant Palmer. And Craig says of Palmer, he saved my life. For the bad, we'll stay in Collier County and go to the gas station, where Yulette Centella was arrested for purchasing $15 of gas on her debit card, but for that $15, pumped over 200 gallons of gas into containers. Apparently had a way to manipulate the diesel pump. Need to get one of those. She was busted on site. Finally, the ugly. We go to Pennsylvania, where Clyde Smay was not happy with the cable guy. Apparently, the internet service man did not fix what he was supposed to fix. So Clyde pulled a firearm and wouldn't let him leave the house until it was fixed.
That's a little radical.
Yeah, he ended up with a charge of false imprisonment, among other things. No word on whether his internet service is back, but he'll now get a new service. That's in the pokey. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, July the 24th, 2023.
The Women's World Cup's going on. I think FS1, you could find some matches. Team USA doesn't play till Wednesday night, 9 o'clock on Fox. It's a hell of a baseball night. Of course, none of these games would be nationally televised. I mean, well, why would the sport want to do that? I mean, like the Orioles in Philadelphia taking on the Phillies. I mean, two good teams, even though the Phillies are a game out of the playoffs right now. I mean, why would you be interested in seeing that series? I mean, just like the Reds in Milwaukee battle for first. Red hot Reds, half a game behind the Brewers. Brewers have won 5 of 6 against the Reds. I mean, Texas is in Houston, the Rangers and Astros separated by 3 games in the standings in the West. Why would there be any interest in seeing that? Toronto's in Los Angeles, Blue Jays and Dodgers, first place team and a wild card team. I mean, bunch of stars on both teams. No interest in that. So 10 games in baseball tonight. Half of them are pretty damn sexy. You can't watch any of them unless you buy the package.
Looks like it's an MLB Network night for me.
I mean, you even got Seattle, Minnesota. They're both above 500. That one's at least on ESPN Plus. Technically, I think Orioles Phillies is on ESPN Plus. So there you go. I don't think there's a big announcement today either. I mean, golf, Harmon, did you hear, by the way, Brian Harmon asked, hey, you won the Open Championship. What are you going to do? He said, I'm going to go home. I'm going to cut my grass on the new tractor, lawnmower that I bought, and my wife doesn't know that I bought it.
The wife's not even home. She's in upstate New York with a family. He's going back to Georgia. Maybe she'll meet him.
Right. He's going to spend a couple days just riding around on the tractor with the claret jug.
Cutting grass. Good for him.
That's a wild and crazy guy right there. You won the Open Championship. What are you going to do? Going to cut my grass. Oh.
On a tractor.
My new tractor. Me and the tractor. We're going to spend some time together.
Bet you it's got a cup holder.
I would hope so. It's new after all. Come on now.
I like the fact that here's this guy just won the British Open, and he's a little nervous about the fact that his wife's going to find out he got a tractor that he wasn't supposed to get.
Yeah, right. It's like the nearly $2 million payday. I think you're good, buddy. I really do. Now, you might have made plans Ryder Cup weekend, and you're going to be busy now. You're going to Italy, but you will take her to Italy.
Good news is, I'm pretty sure that's an off week for Georgia, so it won't bother him too much.
Oh, well, hell. Did you look at their schedule? I mean, it's not like they're playing anybody worth a damn. Please. You know, Kirby, I can't believe more people didn't hold him to it. He was asked about his schedule, and he looked right at the reporter, and he said, you guys want to play it? Actually, Kirby,
I think I get a bunch of reporters, and we'll take that schedule on.
I actually think I could go 8-4 against that sucker. I do. Oh, well. Miller and Moulton. Big announcement tomorrow. NFL training camps underway in earnest as well.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters.